Hi, this is Naroki5. I am going to be doing this until I die or I find something better to do. So please help me achieve this personal and, I think, noble objective by contributing to my Patreon or Subscribe Star. Link is down below. Every little bit helps. Thank you very much. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Red Pill Nation, number 327. It's only the two. It's just the two of us today, so we might actually be able to get through these topics fairly quickly tonight because we've actually got bookends. Topic number 1 is the sports section, and then topic number 6 is the corporate news section, and both of them have some rather interesting information on them. But I am your host and your guide on your continuing adventures through Clown World, Naroki5, and with me tonight is head clown trainer of Clown World, Rierson.
Okay, I didn't realize I got a promotion. Not that I'm getting paid for any of this, but that's okay. We expected that. And I suppose until I might take this whole gig seriously, probably not. It'll remain that way. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, sorry, go ahead. No, go ahead. No, you go ahead.
Fucks. You interrupted me again. Well, it's going to be a good night. Okay. I am, of course, Rierson. Not that I enjoy being in the rear, taking it up the rear, or anything along the rear, although I do like a woman with a nice rear. But there's no penetration on my part for anything rear. Either I'm doing the penetrating or I'm not going to be penetrated unless it's for medical reasons. And no, not a doctor's special examination. No, I don't think so.
You've been a bad boy. I'm going to be your doctor. I'm going to give you a examination now. Let me just pull out my special tool.
Dude, you're fucking scaring me. Oh, God. Oh, and with that, the night's been ruined. Okay, it can't be any more. Oh, shit. Can't be any more ruined than that woman that MMA fighter wants to marry. Holy shit.
Oh, my God. You're going to have to bring me up to speed on that one. I haven't heard. For once, you're actually ahead of me on the news.
Oh, what the fuck is the guy's name?
John Fox? No, go ahead.
Alan. Oh, fuck. Well, let me find out here. Paul Joseph Watson had to talk about it. So when it reaches that kind of level, you know you're in trouble. Hold on, sorry. We're going to have to talk about Ahsoka as well, too, next week, because I think it's not going to work for them.
Okay, anyway, I'll take a look.
You keep doing what you're doing. I'm going to look. I know what to look for. And
all right, I'll do the commercial sponsors. Anyway,
chill.
Blue Pill Corporation is one of our sponsors. Yes, sir. If you're feeling conflicted or frustrated or otherwise confused about the current Clown World environment, yes, we over at Pfizer Incorporated teamed up with Blue Pill. By the way, Pfizer's corporate logo is actually blue. Hint, hint, hint. The Blue Pill has brought out the Blue Pill. Yes, sir, the Blue Pill. That's right. One drop of this and you'll be spewing off SJW and NPC talking points and actually believing them too. That's right, the Blue Pill. The cure for your conflicted feelings. Also, it doubles as Viagra, which brings me to my next corporate sponsor, Orange Man Bad Handball, because it doubles as Viagra and because you're an NPC soy boy who's probably not getting laid anyway and has a rather strong fetish for Trump. You're probably going into the bathroom multiple times a day to jerk off to Orange Man Bad. Orange Man Bad Hand Balm is there to prevent you from getting uncomfortable chafing and blisters to a certain region of your body? That's right, Orange Man Bad Hand Balm. It prevents chafing. And also, new from Orange Man Bad Muscle and Joint for those suspicious cases of tendinitis or pulled muscles that may have occurred from undisclosed activities that have occurred in your bathroom. From taking the blue pill and using Orange Man Bad. That's right, Orange Man Bad Joint and Muscle. So you wait a minute. And we will totally have you covered. That's right, Orange Man Bad Hand Balm, Orange Man Bad Joint and Muscle. All of it coming from Blue Pill Corporation, a subsidiary of Pfizer, because everything has been brought to you by Pfizer. And on with the show for tonight. So
8535. Fuck. Here we go. It's gonna be one of those nights, folks. One of those nights.
Why are you not here tonight, V? Why are you here? Why are you not here tonight, Angel? Why are you not here tonight, Captain? Anyway, so the for those of you who don't know, I am at BitChute. Oh, look at that, V! You just missed our new commercial sponsor, Orange Man Bad, deep muscle and tissue, joint and muscle. That's right. We've got you totally covered now in terms of that. So, V, introduce yourself.
Of course, I am the one and only V. Well, the only one that has the mantle of V right now. Host of the Red Pill Hardcore Radio Show and I guess a spokesperson of TLBTalk.com, Freedom of Speech Social Network. Everybody should be doing their backup social networking, if not their primary social networking on TLB Talk, because other people are going to end up collapsing or becoming so far corrupt and compromised, there will be no point in being on their platforms. So support the underdogs and support it now.
And by the way, one of the topics tonight is about a platform that has decided to march back some of the stuff that they were talking about. For those of you who don't know, I am at BitChute, Odyssey, Rumble, MGTOW TV. Yeah, I do post my stuff up at YouTube, and then I will. However, I only post it up at YouTube for ease of uploading to other websites. I'm still at Facebook. I haven't been booted off Facebook, not since the election, and not since immediately after the election. Facebook, Minds, MeWe, Gab, TLB Talks, Getter. That's it for now. Now that things have perhaps, again, like I was just telling Grierson at the start, now that looks like my employment situation may, and I keep saying this, finally stabilized. I'm gonna hold back on the finally part because it's been a bit of a roller coaster here. I'm probably gonna be able to start establishing a regular schedule here sooner rather than later. Oh yeah, so by the way, I'm at Patreon as Naroki5. I am a subscribe star as the Red Pill Nation. The topics for tonight, and by the way, we have two sections 1 and 6, that are covering two different topics, and we've got some interesting stuff, including something that I was just talking to V about, which is topic number 2. Topic number 1, the sports section. Major Junior League, Quebec Major Junior Hockey League just banned fighting. I had a rather interesting conversation with Jaffe on this, and I would have liked to have had Jaffe. If you want to maybe send another invite to Captain Sinclair, maybe he can jump on briefly for this.
I found the last name of that MMA fighter with the woman who's a fuck. So goddamn, she's not a Hollywood bicycle. She's a Hollywood fucking public toilet. Well, Logan is the guy's last name.
Okay. Oh, Logan Paul. Oh my God. Listen, Logan Paul's one of those guys who's been kind of drifting in and out. He's never been prominent enough for me to do a story on, but he's got a history.
You can do one now.
He's got a history. We might be able to do something for 328 on that. So the sports section today be Michael Oher suing benefactors over proceeds to the movie The Blind Side. Topic number 2, new advertiser settings for Twitter, and Twitter also gets fined for protecting Donald Trump. Yeah, yin and yang with Twitter. Topic number 3, it's official. Rachel Zegler is worse than Brie Larson. She's doing her level best to destroy Snow White before the film release. Oh my God, I thought Brie Larson was bad.
She was.
And Brie Larson was. Well, when we get to her, we'll talk about it. Topic number 4: Justin Trudeau has set up clandestine fund to target parents opposed to grooming in Canada. Topic number 5: Alex Stein destroys woke idiots in Plano, Texas. We had some fun with this one on 326. And then we're going to finish off with some good news. Project Veritas lays off, quote unquote, fires all staff. Organization collapses.
Golf clap, please. Golf clap.
Yeah, who didn't see that one coming? And topic and 6B, Target admits defeat and pulls all of its LGBTQ merchandise. Yes, sir. It's going to be one of those. It's going to be one of those nights tonight. So we're going to start off with the sports section, and I mean, I get that you two guys are probably not as big into sports as, say, I am, or maybe perhaps Jaffe would be if he was on tonight.
It's just depending on which sport.
Yeah. All right.
Not into hockey at all. So.
Well, I mean, that's for a guy who's originally from Texas. That's probably not all that surprising. Nothing against UV. It's just, I mean, yeah, no, I totally get that.
No. The Canadian in me is just going to get really fucking pissed off with UV. Yeah, I'm going to take a fucking Burton. No, it's fine. Go ahead.
Okay, all right. It's also perhaps maybe a bit. It's like not everybody in Canada is like a super duper hockey fan, but if you live in Canada, you know. It's like football down in Texas, right? You know, it's like you're going to hear about it whether you want to or not, right? And that's exactly, although this story got mysteriously buried for some strange reason, probably because, well, I mean, again, TSN and Sports Desk in Canada are both woke AF, woke as fuck. And so they probably didn't really cover this all that much. But here's the situation. For those of you who don't know, Major Junior provides probably, I'm going to guess, at about 50% of the players, at 50 to probably about 50 to 60% of the players that come into the NHL come out of the 3 major, although those figures might be off a little bit, provide 50 to 60% of the players that come into the NHL come out of either the Western Hockey League, the Ontario Hockey League, or the Quebec Major Junior Hockey League. Now, much like Division I NCAA, what they do in Major Junior, and I'm going to have to assume although I've never actually spoken to anybody who knows a lot about NCAA Division I, and it's a different kind of system because the U.S. I could get into the differences between the U.S. hockey system and the Canadian hockey system, but what they generally tend to do in the feeder leagues, be it Division I NCAA, which is the big feeder system for the 3 baseball, football, basketball down in the U.S., or the NHL, which primarily comes out of the major juniors, or sometimes you get to Division Junior B, which is which also produces a fair amount of talent for the NHL as well. Canada, its development system is like the U.S. system. For those of you in the U.S. versus Canada, the U.S. system is more closely akin to the one that the old Soviet Union has developed. The Soviet Union picks out its most skilled, its best players, and puts them in one place, which I believe is Sioux City in the United States, and it finds these players all over the country via the high school system, and that puts them in this feeder system, and it develops a lot of high-end skill players. The only thing is, though, is that if you don't qualify for that school, your route to the NHL is a lot more difficult. Whereas Canada tends to run a system that's more akin to gladiator school. As a result of you get a lot of, in the U.S., you get a lot of, and Russia, by the way, you get a lot of high-end, high-skill players playing at the NHL level, but the mid-level talent is usually dominated by North American players. The system that they have at Major Junior, though, is specifically they try to make the rules in Major Junior as close to the rules that they have in the NHL. Because what this is the preparatory prep league for the NHL. I'm having to assume that's probably is what NCAA tries to do with their sports programs down in the U.S. as well. Although again, I don't know for sure. But the way it works, so yeah, and Jaffe was telling me that the rules have changed, but I'm not sure. I mean, fighting was fairly, I mean, I've only been to two Major Junior games. There was a fight that broke out. Now, my understanding is that if you get into a fight at the Major Junior level, as opposed to the NHL level, if you get into a fight, you're ejected from the game, but fighting is allowed. It's one of the few places where they do, but you only get booted for the game. Right? Particularly if you're the instigator. You only get booted for the game because that's what they more or less have at the NHL level. Now, the Quebec Major Junior League, this is the league that gave you Sidney Crosby, Mario Lemieux, and a few other big names that Rierson has probably not really heard of very much because he's not a hockey guy. The Quebec Major Junior League has instituted a rule which completely bans fighting altogether. Now, is that going to translate up to the NHL level? I really don't think so. Reason being is that, and I know this because I've been to NHL games where fights take place. You know, nobody leaves the except unless, of course, they're one of those sensitive one of those sensitive NPC clown world types. No, when a fight takes place, people tend to stand up. Nobody leaves the arena when a fight is happening. It generally tends to spark up the audience. So I don't think, and it is actually a tactic, which is why literally every team in the NHL has at least one guy on the team that's the designated. Call him the designated bruiser. He's the guy that goes out, and also like other rules need enforcement. Like don't take cheap shots at the other team's best player. Don't hook. Don't take runs at the goal. There's all sorts of little unwritten rules. Of course, there's the on the book rules and the off the book rules, right? The enforcer on the team is the guy. If you violate one of those rules, you have to deal with the other team's enforcer, right? That's just an unwritten code. They have banned it altogether, though. Now, the Quebec Major Junior League was usually the league of the Western Hockey League, the Ontario Hockey League, and the Quebec, which is now also the Atlantic, which includes the Atlantic provinces. The three of the three major leagues, the Quebec League is the one that has had the most difficulty in winning the Memorial Cup. For those of you from the U.S. who don't know what the Memorial Cup is, that's like winning the national championship or winning the Final Four for the NCAAs or winning the national championship for the NCAAs in baseball. The Quebec League has had some difficulty. They have had teams recently win it, but by and large, Quebec teams have had difficulty winning this cup. Mostly because the Quebec League has always kind of shied away from the fighting, but they've never, they weren't known so much as a bruiser league. But now they've banned fighting altogether. Now, my one concern about this is, the Gladiators school system, the way it's set up, right? One of the big transitions that major junior players have to deal with when they get to the NHL is that they have to deal with the banging and the hitting, which is coming from bigger, faster, stronger players than they were dealing with in major junior. Those are just things you can't do in major junior that you can do at major junior that you can't do at the NHL level, right? And one of the biggest one of them, and this is one of the reasons why, for instance, you don't see nearly as many Russians coming over here, is because the physicality at the NHL level is just it can throw a lot of people off. It can throw a lot of people off. So not only eliminating fighting altogether, but actually suspending players at the major junior level for fighting is going to reduce the caliber of player that is going to be coming out of the QMJHL. Because, if they don't learn to fight at the QMJHL level, what's going to happen when they get to the NHL, right? There's no fighting in football. There's no fighting in basketball. There's definitely, I've seen some bench clearing brawls in baseball, but there's generally not a lot of fisticuffs that happen in baseball. But it's hockey, fighting is a part of the sport. And when you get to the NHL, even if you're not a player that gets into a lot of fights, you still have to know how to defend yourself, because there's a lot of players at the NHL level that have played really dirty. So that, again, right, we're talking about reduction of talent level everywhere. There's another example of it. Now, the second topic, and I saw The Blind Side. Now, The Blind Side, when it came out, you heard a lot of black actors going, "Oh, well, this is just another white savior movie." And it's like, okay, yeah, Michael Oher, the story behind this is that Michael Oher was just an absolutely phenomenally talented football player who was living in who was so talented that even though he came from a really bad familial background, was somehow able to get into one of the better prep schools. I believe it was Alabama or Mississippi where he was living. What ended up happening one night, and this is the story. This is apparently this is the story that happened. Michael Oher would just simply spend, as opposed to going home, and this is something that I did a lot of too. Although I just got on my bike and rode around the city that I was living in. Michael Oher would spend all his time at the gym or at the high school, and then he would walk home late at night, and he would leave early in the morning, and that was his way of coping with the familial situation. Now, it just so happened that one night, I guess maybe she went by him a couple times, but she noticed that he was walking home and it was just pissing rain, so she took him back to her place as opposed to taking him home. And then she got a grasp of his familial situation, and realizing that he had the potential to go somewhere, they pretty much allowed Michael Oher to move in with them. Now, this is a deep South. They had all the usual racism issues and so on and so forth. But, they took a particular interest in, I guess, and not because they needed the money, because the family that was helping him didn't need the money. They were multimillionaires, right? But I mean, had they not done this, I don't think Michael Oher's path to the NFL would have probably been a whole hell of a lot worse. This is what I'm talking about when what you hear in the manosphere when you talk about having a stable family environment versus an unstable family environment. Like, for instance, if I had come from a stable family environment right now, I might be at the situation where I'm basically at the same level as Joe Rogan, just speculating at this point. I would have had a lot more structure. I would have had a lot more discipline, etc., etc. Well, that's what he got provided, and he went on and he had a fairly lengthy. He had the 9-year career with the Baltimore Ravens. They did the movie called The Blind Side. Sandra Bullock won the Oscar for it, and that was it. Now, apparently, Michael Oher got underpaid for the project, and he didn't see the money that he was getting. So he is now suing his former benefactors because he didn't get in what was considered fair compensation. Now, along the way, Sandra Bullock has been dragged in, saying that she should turn over her Oscar. However, being familiar with the film industry, I can tell you that Sandra Bullock did not have anything to do with the economics of what was going on with the movie. She was just the lead actress, and she got well compensated, obviously, for it, and she got an Oscar award out of it, back when the Oscars actually meant something. But, it wasn't it was a really good story. I've seen it end to end. There's been no real speculation and of course Oher has gone on various podcasts and show that the movie was not entirely accurate as to what happened. Of course, filmmaking, you have 2 hours to present your story, and details get left out. Like, they left out Tom Bombadil, for instance, is left completely out of Lord of the Rings, and Tom Bombadil's a very central character early on in Lord of the Rings. So I mean, yeah, they're gonna leave some stuff out. I'm pretty sure they left some details out of Sound of Freedom as well, which will probably come out at some point. Calls on Sandra Bullock to give up her Oscar, which is just an absolute massive crock of shit. Literally, absolutely a crock of shit, because she had nothing to do with the economics of the movie. What really surprises me is that BLM is that there hasn't been the black community has not tried to make this a race issue, even though it's absolutely primed to be a race issue, but there hasn't been a whole lot of talk about this. Don't know what Oher's financial situation is, although it is very, very common for players once they leave the NFL to burn through their money fairly quickly, which is why the players' union at the NFL level has a pension, which won't not necessarily keep an NFL player in the lap of luxury. It'll guarantee that they're not living in a van down by the river, unless they choose to live in a van down by the river. So yeah, that's a very curious story as well. Again, the people who helped out Michael Oher when the movie came out, I don't think they actually got compensated all that much, because again, right, they're a family of multimillionaires, right? So they don't need the money. That being said, though, greed is something that absolutely knows no limits. So I don't know the full story there, but that's my take on this, and I'm going to turn it over to V now.
Okay, a double whammy here. Well, let's start with the hockey. So there's several things on this. from my point of view. I'm gonna go. I'm probably go in and out, liberal, conservative, liberal, conservative. I'm probably gonna, you know, dance around a bit with this, but it's just so many aspects to the fighting. So you have, and this is something that I would use, especially on Gab, especially when like there's these white supremacists and they want to talk about black people in sports and then white people in sports and how primitive black people are versus how civilized white people are. And then I just give them example, side by side, um, you know, uh, basketball, hockey. Oh yeah, yeah. That's not barbaric at all. Rugby. The most violent sports in the world that is not centered on violence, like MMA or boxing, is hockey and rugby, which are mostly, we could just say it's white sport. So I think it might be an attempt to clean up the image and bring some kind of civility to hockey, because sportsmanship is bad. These people are supposed to be your upper class people who are supposed to be better than everybody else. That's the whole other reason why you would make a sport that only certain people can play. That's why you have clubs that only certain people can join. That's why you have spots of authority that only certain people can take up. Okay? So I think it just may be an attempt to clean up the image. Because they're showing that they're no better than anybody else. They're most certainly showing that they're not civilized. This entire time we've been on the show here, I've been watching video clips after video clips of NHL fights. I mean, these things are brutal. It's pretty brutal. I mean, they don't even care. They're knocking out referees. I mean, they don't give a flying F. Okay? And I think to myself, these are people that, I don't know, I grew up with money, have never had to deal with any consequences in their life because mommy and daddy will buy their way out of it. They feel as they can just do anything. They're invincible. They're not having to see any kind of consequences. They're not being fined, as far as I know. I may be wrong, but being fined for these fights. I personally, the main reason why I have never even showed any interest in hockey was for the simple fact that I have martial arts training. I in the Army, I was an MMA champion. Okay, I have an instinct and a reflex that would send my foot flying at your head, at your arms or chest. If I played hockey, I'd be cutting off someone's head, cutting off someone's arm. And it's strange to me, really. I'm really surprised that, as far as I know, maybe you guys have seen something different. I mean, anybody ever get a finger chopped off or something? All these guys fall over in piles. I think it's just the most stupid equipment to have in a sport. 2 giant axe blades on the bottom of your feet.
Oh, dude, there's been a couple cases where a skate has gone over the throat of a player. There was one very well-known incident that occurred back in the 90s. that a player, carotid artery, got run over during a shootout, and like the guy was like literally spurting blood on. This was an NHL game too, by the way.
Uh-huh.
This was an
Wow.
So yeah, it does happen. You're not allowed to kick players. You're not allowed to headbutt players because of helmets and so on and so forth. There are rules. Basically, a fight is supposed to be between is supposed to, if you fight, basically everybody stands. The rule is that if there's a fight, everybody stands back, and the referees will usually also hold back until until a certain point where one of the players ends up on the ice, or both players just sort of like tap out, or one of the players taps out, and then the referees will come in and break it up, right? The fighting is used as a tactic, or it's used to settle an issue between two players that have a personal beef with each other on the ice. What happens on the ice stays on the ice, though. It doesn't go out into it doesn't go out into the bed. It doesn't go out to the dressing room. It doesn't go out to them getting on the bus afterwards or anything like that.
But I'll tell you, it goes out to the audience. Half of these clips, it spills over to the audience, and some of these hockey players are beating the crap out of the fans.
Oh yeah, I take it you saw that. There's been cases where fans have gotten really riled up and started pissed off players to the point. I've seen one in particular, which is a rather famous one, where there was this one guy, and Ty Domi was one of the famous Toronto Maple Leaf guys, and there was a player who was beaking him off. And while he was in the bench, and what he literally did is he took the water bottle and he sprayed the water bottle right in the guy's face. Stepped up onto the wooden railing, used the water bottle, just like squirted water right. He got suspended for that, but not overly long, because obviously the fan involved was obviously crossing the line. It's like football. You could taunt the players from the stands, but you can't go onto the ice or like harass them when they're in the penalty box or anything like that. You have to stay on. You have to keep it. You have to keep it on the ice, right? You don't. There's not spillover, and yeah, fights are brutal. Yeah, you should see what some of the hits are like. By the way,
no, I'm watching them, and some of these. I mean, okay, for example, full contact football. Okay, you go after somebody, you hit them hard enough, you're gonna get a flagrant foul. You're gonna get called penalty, unnecessary roughness. Okay, I'm seeing some of these guys, they're like assassins. Some of these guys are getting splattered from somebody coming fully across the ice, across the court, and just splattering people. I'm seeing helmets fly off. People having their heads just, it's like a cartoon when the cartoon character hits the wall and they slide down as a puddle.
Oh yeah,
I'm seeing a lot of this.
Dude,
hits.
Oh yeah, I saw
guys are passed out, knocked out.
Oh yeah, there was a hit I saw on RJ Umberger. That went international, and it was like they were like looking at this hit, and it was like this was from a British guy, and it was like, good God, I'm surprised that I'm surprised that Umberger got hit so hard. It was like, did the guy's soul leave his body?
Jeez. Yeah, some of these hits I'm seeing, it's like, if somebody hit me like that, I'm coming to the house with a gun. It's vengeance.
NFL players are sometimes absolutely gobsmacked about how nasty the hits get at the NHL level. Like, they are like, NFL players are sometimes like, whoa, like, I thought I got hit hard. Right?
Yeah.
Like, even and I gotta understand, NFL players are on average larger than an NHL player. But the difference is that it doesn't matter how big you are in the NHL, man. Those fucking boards don't move and I know this, having been smacked into them a few times myself, man. Those fucking boards don't move for anybody, right? Like you could be really in the refrigerator Perry, man. And it's like that board, those boards ain't fucking moving for you. So if you get smacked into those boards, yeah, like.
And I'm watching, okay, this guy scores a goal, and everybody's coming around, circling back, and celebrating. And a guy comes out of nowhere and totally creams the guy who made the goal.
Oh, I've seen that happen a few times. Technically, that's illegal, but yeah, it does happen.
That's bad sportsmanship. That's terrible.
Oh yeah, it's bad sportsmanship. I'm trying to remember. I think it was the Dale Hunter hit on Pierre Turgeon, which was like the absolute worst that I've ever seen. That was back in '87. Turgeon scored a goal, and I think Dale Hunter was coming up behind him while he was doing it, and yeah, oh wow, Turgeon just got like absolutely creamed from the hit. Yeah, so yeah, they're and of course, like if you want to start getting in, if you want to start getting in, if you want to start getting into like sleazy shit, I mean, there was a player by the name of Brian Marchmont. He was notorious for doing what's otherwise known as a knee-on-knee hit. Now, if you don't know what a knee-on-knee hit is, knee-on knee is where a player will stick his knee out in a way so that a player who's holding the puck, because the player is going so fast, right? Like when the one player's knee hits the other player's knee, if the defenseman knee is braced, what basically happens is you give the player that's hitting you a Charlie horse from the hit.
As you're saying this, I'm watching it on YouTube. Someone just did that.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it's called a knee on knee. Brian Marchmont was notorious for doing that. Sorry for leaving you out there, Rearson. Brian Marchmont was so notorious for doing that I mean, he like literally at one point got like somebody and one of the players on the other team just went out and like just brutally cheap shotted the guy to the point where they had to take him out on a stretcher. Like if you engage in those type of dirty tactics at the NHL level, yeah, the other team is going to take it out. And if you're notorious for doing that all around, yeah, other teams are going to get smart to you, and they will do a number. You will answer for it at some point, which was exactly what happened with Marchmont. But yeah, let's get into Michael Oher though, because that's another story altogether. And by the way, we were at 42 minutes on this topic.
Hold on.
I just say really quickly, stretchers. How many stretchers do you have to have on standby for this game? Because it seems like every other hit that I'm seeing in this, somebody's going out on the stretcher.
Usually there's one or two. It's not that common. Really brutal on ice hits are like they'll get hit.
It's not the fucking 80s and 90s when that was really about it. And who was it? Rodney Dangerfield. I said, no. I was watching a boxing game, a boxing match, and it just turned around and ended up being a hockey game. It was like that bad. The worst one I have ever seen anybody do was Ron Hextall. He was the Philadelphia Flyers goalie. Fucker, I don't know who the guy that he did.
Chris Chelios.
He fucking hatcheted or a hatchet job with his fucking big goalie stick on the guy's fucking on the back of his leg. If it was
wait, that's Kent Nielsen. That was Kent Nielsen. Hatcher Nielsen, and I know this because there's a friend of mine you haven't met yet. He wasn't able to join us in Calgary the other day. He played with Kent Nielsen. Kent Nielsen was a phenomenally skilled player. But Kent Nielsen is one of those European guys. Europeans don't get into fights as much as the NHL guys do.
No, the way that they play hockey in Europe is that it's more of an art.
Yeah, well, no, European players though are notorious for using underhanded cheap shots. Like,
Can't be any worse than fucking soccer or the international football players.
oh yeah, oh by the way, yeah, European players are notorious for diving. Good fucking
So-
God.
Anyway, so I'm going to say this very quickly, and you can play this one out however you will. Yes, I completely agree with you, Naroki, that if the Quebec Hockey League at that level, the majors, if they're going to be cutting off fighting, I'm sure that the rationale somewhere might be, it's like, well, then we'll get Ontario and then the Western Hockey League and whatever's the farm system in the States is. We'll get them to, we'll discourage fighting. I'm sorry, but that kind of a sport, and I'm sorry at the end of the day, but to me, it requires so much more work. Skating around or balancing yourself on two battle axes, shall we say, or large razor blades, whatever you want to call them. It requires a lot of finesse that the other sports don't compare. It's just it's a better sport, in my honest opinion, just based on the amount of skill that's required. Not to say that you can't, not to say that trying to hit a ball 30% of the time you get paid $1 million isn't great. I don't care for fucking baseball anymore. But but by taking the fighting element out of it, I won't be the least bit surprised if there's going to be enough players in the future that get taken out from fighting that the Quebec Hockey League will probably be sued because they didn't prepare them for the big leagues.
Because I can absolutely guarantee you, man. Fighting is a tactic used at the end. It's not just fighting. It's there's a strategy behind the fighting.
Yeah.
And I noticed, because I've talked to guys in the NHL who said the fighting is not just for the sake of fighting. The fighting is there's a strategy behind it.
Well, the thing is about it, again, I reference, rich, spoiled white kids. A lot of these these players' parents probably have companies, and they all have there's some level of privilege. And to me, when I look at hockey, I think of a bunch of corporate people competing. What do you want to do when you compete in the corporate world? You want to get somebody else fired and yourself promoted. That's the way these people act on the ice, because the way that these people are being hit, I mean, these are career enders. You could be physically mauled, end your season, end your career.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it's happened too, by the way.
Yeah. Pertuzzi and fucking
my Moore, I can't remember his his name, but keep in mind, Moore did a flying fucking elbow on Naslund in the previous game.
Yeah. So
which could have also ended Naslund's career, because he clotheslined Naslund with that elbow. That's something that's not necessarily talked about with that particular situation, but continue.
Yeah. So again, at the end of the day, the league has to protect itself by making sure that the players know how to protect themselves. There's always the element of injury. And I can tell you, having fallen on just a small frozen puddle of ice, I was in grade 6. I had a little bit of a vision problem for the rest of the day, at least for a couple of hours. So that happened to me just at school, no helmet on, we were just playing around. And it fucking hurt. I don't want to go through it again. But I was okay, and I was able to, I guess I was young enough that my brain bounced back from it. Or maybe it affected my brain. I don't know. But
it did. That's why you're on this show.
And you're the one that started this one, so don't fucking blame me if anything goes wrong in your life. But anyway,
it's brain damage.
Well, Naroki and I are both brain damaged if we're both on this show. Just saying.
You got to be brain damaged to come up with a product like Orange Man Handball, Orange Man Bad Handball.
I sprained my arm. Oh, my fingers. Oh, the palm. Oh.
I have no idea what caused it. I'm pretty sure it doesn't have anything to do with me watching 16 Blake Blossom videos all in a row, though. It has nothing to do with that.
Oh, God. Could you just imagine having your hand cramp up so much that you just can't let go? And it's squeezing. Anyway, we'll leave all of that alone.
Oh, give yourself the claw.
I've never seen it get that thick before. Holy crap, it looks like it's about to burst. Anyway, you know what I'm saying. I'm done. You guys can go on
That's the crab claw.
from
That's
here.
what we call that.
And on
All
that,
right,
note, I'm done.
So yeah, we never even discussed. I don't know the whole situation with the Michael Oher situation, but yeah, we're at 15
I don't know
minutes
anything
here.
about that one either. I feel as though that this lawsuit may be justified. It's just gonna have to work its way through. I agree with you on the fact that what's her name? She had nothing to do with anything. She just acted in the movie. I forget her name.
Sandra Bullock. Yeah, no, Sandra Bullock.
Right.
It's exceedingly rare that an actor will actually be involved in the budgetary process or who gets paid what or whatever. That has nothing to do with Sandra Bullock, unless you say a guy like Tom Cruise, for instance. Tom Cruise is a guy who will do it. Some of the Arnold Schwarzenegger was also another guy who would get involved in the process. Unless they're planning on becoming directors later on, you know. So yeah, I don't know the whole situation behind it either. I gotta admit though, Michael Oher might be one of those guys who blew through all the money that he made in the NHL really quickly, which again is why they have that NHL, where they have the big leagues have those pensions in place. So anyway, are we done on this particular topic, or can we move on? Hello? Hello?
I'm done.
All right.
Yeah, let's move on.
Yeah, all right. So let's move on to the next topic. All right. So we knew this was coming. Elon Musk made a lot of noise very early on about this being a free speech site. However, right off the bat, there were multiple people that he did not bring back at all. Alex Jones being one of them, Gavin McInnes being another. There are people that never got reinstated on Twitter. Now, I will note that, when you get the leftists screaming on Twitter at this point, what's going on is that you're not when say a guy on the right post up or a guy on the versus a person on the left. What used to happen before Elon bought Twitter was that the left would post up and then they would filter the feed so it looked like, for instance, the grooming crowd, right? The grooming crowd, it looked like the groomers were getting overwhelming support. Now that's gone. Certain memes like "Okay Groomer" and "Rules Like Groomer" and that sort of thing are allowed back on the platform. So Elon Musk did do stuff. I mean, we speculated right at the start that Elon Musk was doing this for Elon Musk. He wasn't doing this for the good of society. That became very obvious when he brought in Linda Yaccarino, who is an avowed globalist, to head the company, and Elon chose to step back. Though Elon said that stuff wasn't going to change, but it has. They're not booting people off left, right, and center. And for instance, for instance, when these crazed leftists and that LGBTQ, the groomer crowd is gone. By the way, But I mean, when you get these egotistical Hollywood actors posting up, it's like when you go into the responses now, like you're seeing the feed. It's like they're getting nasty blowback, which is why when Threads came along, they all tried to go over to Threads, and Threads went nowhere, so they're back on Twitter. Elon was kind of in a strange situation. He needs to make this company profitable, which is why he brought Linda Yaccarino in. So what it appears to be is that Elon isn't necessarily a leftist, but what he is, though, is he's a businessman. And he's had to do, and like, I mean, for instance, if you're super critical of Elon, like, yeah, you'll notice that the people on Twitter that are really critical of Elon have not been getting the love that other people have been getting on Twitter. That's not a surprise. But yeah, the new advertiser, and they are attempting to fix the advertiser guidelines on there. But yeah, like you're seeing the rolling back of some of the stuff that Elon said he was going to do. At one point, he even talked about taking away the thumbs down button, which of course didn't happen because he'd been caught, and taking away the comment ban, which would also, the block function, which also didn't happen because Elon himself has been blocking people. He's doing what he can to serve his business more than he is doing it to serve the general public, which is why Yaccarino is in place. What I'm also noticing on Twitter now that Yaccarino is running the show, is that although they're not filtering the responses to these posts, I'm noticing that the leftists are now coming back up at the top of my feed again. They're not filtering the responses. I mean, they're still getting ripped to shreds in the comments, and I suspect that is probably going to stay there. But because, I mean, these individuals, what they chose to come on Twitter, they choose to grandstand on Twitter. They're gonna get ripped to shreds, and Twitter's not gonna have their back on that. The other part is that, I mean, Twitter got fined $350,000 because they didn't turn over the information for the Donald Trump site to the Justice Department. They eventually complied, and it has been revealed that Elon Musk has gone along with something like 85% of the requests from governments to engage in censorship. So, yeah, if everybody was looking at Elon thinking that he was going to be the big, brave white horse that's going to come in and save everybody, no, that's not the case. It's still.
That's what I told everybody. That's what I said.
Yeah. Oh, I was, like I said, I have never fully committed myself to Twitter since Elon took over. There have been some changes, which when we get into the show next week is going to make it very, very difficult for the powers that be to try to reestablish the conditions that enabled Biden to win in 2024, aka there's a sudden and mysterious new version of the COVID virus that's making its way around, and they're kind of trying to ramp this up to reestablish the lockdowns again, and they're going to have a much more difficult, because the opposition is ready for them this time, right? They're going to have a very hard time engaging in the same level of censorship that they had last time, because alt media is completely established now. But again, right? I'm gonna give Elon Musk the new version of Twitter, being he did a wonderful job and did everything that he said he was going to do, and Twitter is now a total free speech paradise, and F being that he lied and nothing has changed at all. I'm going to give him a C. Elon Musk did with Twitter what helped Elon Musk, which is exactly what I expected him to do. The censorship is not overly bad. It's not gonna help Trump, but it's not gonna hinder him. It's going to be very, very hard for Democrats to pull the same level of propaganda around this new COVID stuff, or the lockdowns, or any of the other stuff that they're trying to do to Trump and the Republicans to desperately hang on to power in 2024, because they're gonna lose the Senate and they're gonna lose the presidency. It wouldn't surprise me if it was a total Republican sweep in 2024. And the whole situation, I mean, yeah, Elon is out for Elon. That's not that big of a surprise for me. Again, this is the same sort of thing that happened with Trump. Trump is also not the white knight riding with his cavalry riding over the hill to come and rescue everybody. Donald Trump is out for Donald Trump as well, right? Although, given some of the levels of prosecution that Donald Trump is facing right now, I'm having to imagine he's getting a little bit pissed. In fact, he actually has tweeted, he has posted some stuff up on Truth Social that kind of indicates that he is getting a little bit pissed about this. But again, right, new advertiser settings, the leftists are coming back up to the top of the feed, but they're not being protected, or they're not being shielded by Twitter when they do it. Elon Musk didn't allow certain people to come back on, and he has complied with most government requests for censorship. He is also attempting to make Twitter profitable. So it is a more balanced place, but yeah, if you were expecting Elon to be the white knight on this, no, he wasn't. Made some changes, but those changes were to suit Elon. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to V.
Well, yeah, as I said from the start, Elon Musk is he's an elitist, a corporate head, and you got to think of it like this. Elon Musk is a giant whale-eating shark in the ocean. However, there are other sharks out there in the ocean that are just big and small enough and numerous enough just to take chunks out of him. Okay? But that's still his type. Those are his people. That's his group. That's his place within the pecking order out there in the ocean. Okay? He needs, in order to stay that big, he needs as many little fish as humanly possible to eat, okay, to sustain them. So that means stepping on the little guys, okay? At the same time, having to share food supply with the other big sharks. So he has to also appease them. It's just the way it is, which is why I told people that there was not going to be a significant change. There was not going to be a social media revolution coming out of Elon Musk. Okay? Now imagine if me, with our tiny network, TLV Talk, if we were doing the same thing, we wouldn't be around. We could not make it from month to month. We wouldn't be around. We're offering that dream, that goal of actual free speech. We're offering, what nobody else can offer. All right. So That's the only reason why we can stick around. Now, when we become big enough to be a threat to those networks that are censored, well, we're going to have some very different shows and a lot of things to talk about. I won't be shy. I promise. So with that, I will pass it on.
Rearson, you're up. Rearson, you're up.
There are way too many zippers and straps on that gimp suit. It's like he's in a
Rearson,
different
you know,
configuration.
this is not the time for the gimp suit. Take the gimp suit off.
Oh, I had a feeling nature called. I will be right back. I'm gonna still wipe my ass.
Okay, well, yeah, we're talking about Twitter. If you didn't already know. Hello?
I think he
Hello?
has to finish wiping his butt. He's got like 2 or 3 more wipes he's got to do. And
Okay,
I'm pretty sure he's
so
got some balm to put on as well. So,
yep,
there's
yep.
that.
Alrighty.
Okay.
Well, again, I am the only social media that I'm on regularly is Telegram. That's it. I don't do anything. I do as little as possible still with Crackbook. I don't have a Twitter account. No, I do have a couple of Twitter accounts. I just don't remember anything about them. I really don't. And one is probably tied to my old phone number, so fat chance I'm gonna get that thing back. And I never got into Twitter. Like, it just seemed to be so small, too concise. And I'm too goddamn fucking lazy to want to learn how the whole Twitter lingo to begin with anyway. I've got more important things in my life to worry about. But, again, porn is to men as social media is to women. We'll leave that alone. But Musk is doing what Musk is going to do. I'm still of the opinion that it's not him. That's another story. And under that premise, Twitter or X or whatever the fuck it's called now, it has its role to play with all of the amazing shit that's going on right now. As the Chinese proverb says, may live in interesting times. I'd like to go back in time and kill that person because I don't want to even think about it anymore. All things being equal, the whole thing that Trump's going to be on trial for, what I feel within the truther community, is that this whole thing is all going to be about 2020. And maybe things are going to wrap up soon enough. I don't know. I fucking hope so, because I don't want to be dealing with another bunch of goddamn fucking sheeple that are going to fall in. Well, enough of them will fall in line. And I'm pretty sure my SO, if they start telling her to wear masks again and go get jabbed and whatnot, she'll probably do it. It's going to drive me nuts. But that's another story. All of this is something that I don't have. I don't have a fight in this game. I have no dog in this fight. It's interesting, and yeah, I'll agree with V that he's complied a lot more often than he hasn't. But who knows? I mean, this could all just be some interesting run movie at the end of the day, and I still don't know how it's going to work out. So I got nothing more to say in this one.
Okay, so that concludes this particular topic. Let's move on to the next one. And this next one is this one is really interesting. Yes, it is Rachel Zegler.
I get stopped for photos every time I'm online for the Snow White ride, and it is I have to pretend like, oh God, well, crazy that we're in front of this.
Wait, how long?
It's like I'm standing there waiting for the photo op, being like,
Well, you kind of are, you know?
No, I guess
like
so.
if Harrison Ford.
I'm Snow White!
Is that your favorite ride? I mean, that's a weird thing that you are Snow White now.
I mean,
Wow.
It's one of the original. I'm a really big Disney fan. I grew up at the Disney parks. My parents took me every summer.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, so
Okay.
it's like, it is. It's a part of my upbringing. It's my favorite thing. So it's just one of those things
Yeah,
that comes
don't.
with the
Well,
territory.
then, if you love it, don't let them scare you.
I was scared of the original cartoon. I think I watched it once and then I never picked it up again. Like, I'm being so serious. I watched it once and then I went on the ride in Disney World, which was called Snow White's Scary Adventures. Doesn't sound like something a little kid would like. Was terrified of it. Never revisited Snow White again. So I watched it for the first time in probably 16, 17 years when I was doing this film.
I'm a narcissist.
Rachel's okay.
Snowjan? God.
Oh my God. To a certain extent, you could overlook Brie Larson, because Brie Larson, I'm going to have to go for a bit here because I think V is taking a bathroom break just like what you did. Brie Larson was just a person who was doing the thing that what she thought was the correct thing, right? She's old enough now to have probably, and she definitely found out after Captain Marvel, which is why she has just gone into complete shut up mode about it. Everybody claims that Brie Larson has maybe made some claims that it didn't affect her, but here's the thing. After Captain Marvel, after all the massive blowback that she received on YouTube and all of the alt media sites for what she did, you notice that she immediately shut up, right? She even has kind of made some half-assed attempts at apology, and has actually gone on YouTube herself, right? Yeah, Brie Larson is in a bit of a redemption arc. I personally, if I had to pick between Brie Larson and Rachel Zegler, I'd take Brie Larson, just because, well, Brie Larson, even though they're plastic, Brie Larson has a better rack than Rachel Zegler. That's just me. Rachel Zegler, though, much younger. When you listen to Rachel Zegler, the first thing that I hear when I listen to Rachel Zegler is I listen to an individual who has not really, this is like, I mean, what she's facing with Snow White is literally the first time that she's faced serious adversity of any kind, and she's getting some really shitty advice from people. I mean, she should really go talk to Brie Larson. And the first thing Brie Larson is going to tell her to do is just seriously shut the fuck up. Like, I mean, you thought Brie Larson ran her mouth? Good God, Zegler just cannot stop doing it. And here's the thing. Zegler is also a victim because there's not so much Hollywood news because of the strike, which, by the way, I was fully expecting was going to happen. Like, I kind of figured that there were going to be a couple of unions that were going to strike, probably by 2024 or 2025 in Hollywood because of the finances and all of the sleazy stuff that Hollywood has been pulling. Oh, and by the way, that's just the business practices. Let's not even get into the cultish stuff and the pedophilia and the casting couch and all of that other stuff that's going on. Like, this is just straight up business stuff that's taking place. It's what these strikes are over. And of course, you're facing massive reduced revenues. So Zegler, in her infinite effing wisdom while she's picketing, goes over and says probably one of the most clueless things I've ever heard an actress say, which of course is something that you maybe like. I mean, you got to take into account Rachel Zegler's age here. Like, I deserve to be paid for every hour that Snow White is streamed because I have. I mean, because I mean, I've had to sit 16 hours in a dress, and I'm sort of like, okay, yeah, acting because I've done it is contrary to what a lot of people have to say. When you are like if you're performing on stage for like a couple, it's like being a musician, right? Like, you know, you get off the stage and then there's that natural high you get right after performing, but there is that crash afterwards. Now, when you're doing film and television, you have to stay in that mode for hours and hours and hours and hours, right? And when you're at the end of the day and you've done all of these scenes and all of these takes, you might not be like dog ass, like working on an oil rig kind of tired, but I can tell you, man, like mentally, like you're fried. Like you're just mentally and emotionally, you're just fried. Right, like you just want to go back to your hotel or back to your dressing room or back to your place, and you want to just maybe get home, have some food, and then just crash. Right? I mean, like, yeah, you're exhausted. So I mean, so I kind of, because I know a little bit of what Rachel Zegler is going through, and yeah, performing is not as easy as you might, and to make it look convincing is not as easy as you might think. The only problem is that Rachel Zegler just comes like, I mean, it's like, I mean, I've seen photos of her now, and she just comes off as just this out of touch, snooty fucking elitist that's never had anybody say no to her, has had sycophants sucking up to her since she was basically biologically available to have kids, and she's got a bunch of fans and sycophants and simps that will suck up and defend her, and she's got a press in Hollywood that will suck up and defend her no matter what. But you know the issue, and here's the thing, right? I mean, let's get into some of the stuff that Zegler's done. All right, first of all, Zegler racially grandstanded over West Side Story. While she wasn't the whole reason why West Side Story tanked, I mean, her comments didn't help. And yeah, she did have some really like loaded PC comments around West Side Story. She was also one of the people that led the charge against Gina Carano in Hollywood back during The Mandalorian. A lot of people don't know about that, and of course she has all the energy. Of course, she also, much like a, wow. I was just listening to her, that model, that one that's married to John Legend. God damn it!
Oh,
Chrissy Teigen, yeah, she's got that saccharine. Oh, it's not quite as phony as Chrissy Teigen. And I'm going to have to say she is a little bit more attractive than Chrissy Teigen. That's just me. But she's got this saccharine phoniness when she does these interviews, and she's the laugh and the way she talks. She just comes off as one of these snooty fucking elitists that just hasn't. That just thinks that thinks she's a lot smarter than she actually is. Brie Larson found out the hard way that she's not as smart as she thinks she is, which is why she's shut up now. I don't think it's sunk in with Rachel Zegler. Here's the thing: Rachel Zegler, because of the actor strike, she's under much more of the spotlight, and all of this stuff is coming out with her. Now you're starting to hear stuff behind the scenes. She was a diva. She was causing difficulty with the director. Da 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 da. It's sort of like, you know, like there's a feeding frenzy going on with Zegler, and she's getting shitty advice, and she's blocking people on Twitter. And by the way, she's got pronouns in her bio, and she's got the black circle. on her Twitter account because I've been there. And she puts out this. I'm probably going to have to download it and include it in the slideshow. Just really bad, and I mean, as bad as Brie Larson got, Brie, they were still able, although they had to pull, I suspect, some very slimy economic maneuvers to reinstate to save Captain Marvel and make it appear as though it actually made a profit. The only problem is that Zegler has done so much damage to Snow White. And by the way, let's not even get into the fact that they couldn't even cast midgets for the dwarves. Oh, and of course they all had to be racially mixed to boot. And oh yeah, Snow White is a Northern European folk tale. Hey, let me emphasize this to you again. A Northern European folk tale. Her skin was supposed to be as white as snow. She wasn't a fucking Hispanic. That's another one. And by the way, Rachel Zegler has come up with some BS excuses for that as well. The Rachel Zegler has piped up and lipped off so much that she is literally she's virtually guaranteed that Snow White is not gonna make a profit. They might not even release it in movie theaters. In fact, there's the possibility of maybe even reshooting it because of all the stuff. And Zegler is a huge part of that. But I mean, Disney and the production cast and everything. I mean, there's been other places that they've screwed up as well. So it's not just Rachel Zegler, but Zegler made it so much worse. But they actually had to have an emergency meeting at Disney. And yes, again, that's just like Rearson, who lives right close to a fire department. I live along a major route to a hospital. So I have to deal with sirens as well. That's what you're hearing in the background. You're hearing the ambulance sirens going by. Wow, that sounds like it's lasting a while. Hold on, I wonder what.
I literally live across the street from the dispatch for the ambulance here.
Oh wow, man! So yeah. So I guess we all kind of we all live along major routes or something like that. Where, for instance, I live right along a major route which runs into one of the biggest hospitals in the city.
Talk about a trifecta. Just saying.
Yep. So the as bad as Brie Larson got, they never had to hold emergency meetings for Brie Larson. Brie Larson at least tried to explain herself. Brie Larson was maybe naively saying this stuff because she thought it was the right thing to say. Right? Rachel Zegler literally believes her own bullshit. So this is going down much harder on Rachel Zegler than it is on Brie Larson. And Rachel Zegler has not only potentially damaged Snow White, but she's also, because of what's going on with Hollywood and the way Hollywood is just going down the tubes as quickly as it is, Zegler has potentially damaged her brand to the point where she might not be hireable anymore because, people are not. She has made herself that unlikable. At least Brie Larson is on a bit of a redemption arc. Zegler dug herself into a hole that was deeper, worse, and literally represented everything that was wrong with Hollywood. And she did it in a much shorter period of time. And she still hasn't fully clued in on what she's done. Whereas Brie Larson, Brie Larson was smart enough to figure it out, right? But keep in mind, Brie Larson is also older. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to V.
Yeah, I don't see what the big deal is. I'm not that familiar with the woman, but I don't know. She looks white to me. With the last name Ziegler, She looks white. I would have never guessed she was Hispanic. I know there's still a lot of people out there in the world that just so focused on race about everything. People can't just work a damn job or perform a service. I don't know. I mean, she's wanting extra compensation or something. I mean, yeah. I mean, acting is. I mean, it's a different world altogether. Yeah, absolutely. Did a little bit of it in school myself. I've got some acting roles here. I'm going to be doing in Austin, independent film stuff. So I guess I was offered that because I'm more than prepared, I guess. I mean, I do radio 20 to 30 hours a week. My show, this show, other people's shows, just to be able to be in the mindset of having to be in your own head and then be of the world and have to portray not only yourself, but a better version of yourself, an honest version of yourself, and the knowledge you have of the world. People like us should be, I would say, we should be more valued for what we do. We should definitely get a lot more perks out of life than the damn shills, the big time corporate shills. But I'm not even go Zegler all over that issue. But I don't know. I mean, listen, there's so many people, they're just blowing up their own spot right now. It's crazy. That's kind of one of the reasons why I put my show on hiatus. It's like, I'm not even sure if I even want to continue it anymore. Not sure. I mean, I do what I do because it just snowballed. I started off doing what I do, handing out flyers, standing in front of gas stations. Hey, check out my YouTube channel. I got a lot of whistleblower information on there. These weren't even my videos, just a collection of stuff that, I put the pieces together on stuff and put them all in one spot. It went from that to talking to people, then those people talked to connected people, media, asked me to come along, give an interview. Next thing I know, I'm being asked to a show, blah, 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 down the line, everything snowballed. I've already done what I wanted to do. I made my documentaries, and that's kind of what I'm going to be flooding everybody with once I have enough people on my social network. I've made my sword and shield already. I don't have to do any more shows. So it's kind of like what they say, you want to dip out while you're on top. You kind of want to step away while you're at the top of your game. Like Seinfeld. The problem is these people stick around too long. And you're eventually going to get caught up on something. Somebody's going to piss you off one day. Somebody's going to, for example, you brought up Corporate Casket last episode. The creator of that, Illuminati, okay, that's her YouTube name, her channel.
Her, yeah, no.
Yeah, she has been dragged through the dirt because people found out she's an asshole.
Oh, she is an asshole.
Yeah, totally.
I mean, you're not going to get any argument from me. Yeah, she's a dishonest. But yeah, there's another place that did did an interview, who did a review of places like, and one of them was Radio Shack. I can't remember what it was called, but yeah. Oh yeah, Illuminati was just Illuminati. Just I mean, we want to start. I mean, I almost considered making her a topic at one point because Illuminati was just producing at a rate that it was very clear that she wasn't doing it all herself.
Oh yeah, she got a content farm. She puts out a video every 3 days, or 2-3 days.
Oh yeah, and it was like, how could she possibly be doing it? Because I mean, all three of us know what it's like doing the show and editing it and so on and so forth. It's really time consuming.
When I was doing shows for TLB TV, I had a video show an hour long, and I did it once a week, and that was a chore. Interview, graphics, green screen, editing. That was a chore. Absolutely. I did that once a week.
Yeah. So I mean, yeah, you and I both know, right?
Yeah. So it's people like, she probably should have dipped out or left her production team with the new people that she was bringing in, with Bad Milk or what was it, Sad Milk or something like that. And she should just let the new stars rise up. And she should have dipped out. But she's one of these people, she's got to have the spotlight on her 24/7 and people worshiping her. So she's done these kind of videos where it's like, okay, I've addressed the issue. She made an apology video, which was not a good apology video. She just basically made excuses for herself while blaming everybody else. And she's been catching crap for it, and she's ignored the issue ever since. She keeps churning out videos. As far as I've seen, since I was subscribed to her, she's lost about 50,000 subscribers. She's getting significantly less views on her new videos than she did in the past. But she's no longer willing to address the issues publicly or do any apologies. She's just plowing forward. Then she got a new video every 3 days, hoping that people forget that she's an asshole. So I think when it comes to these people like Zegler, again, probably somebody who outlasted their 15 minutes of fame. They should have got out before the pressure got to them. There's a lot of people. Most people in her industry, in the entertainment industry, period, you usually run out of money because you can only have that one hit or you can only have that one movie. And then they're prostituting themselves for crumbs after that. But most people don't even get to the point where they can just get so high up in their career and step away. People need to start learning how to do that. She's one of these people that should have learned that. So I don't know her career.
She was growing like a weed for a while, and I liked her content, but it was like she would drop the ball on some things. Like for instance, when it came to feminism stuff, like she would just absolutely drop the ball, like not clear where she was getting all her information. She did something on the pink tax, which just was like, did you even bother to do any research on this? She really. Anyway, we're not really talking about Illuminati here. Although, I almost considered making her a topic.
Well, I got well versed into her because I wanted to look behind the scenes to see who she was. She's a little hottie. I'm so disappointed that she's so hot, but then again, she's got hot girl syndrome, like really bad. Like,
yeah, she does.
Expects to be worshipped by everybody around her. Hot girl syndrome. So, I think it's just kind of poetic justice. When you come out as an asshole like that, public opinion. It doesn't matter how hot you are. You'll get buried. And I think that's kind of great. That's a kind of a justice that we didn't see in the past. being canceled. So I think, it's cancel culture that we have, and it's not going away. A lot of people think that cancel culture has been canceled. No, it's not going away. I don't see it going away for a long time. We might get past it, but I just don't see it. But this is, I don't know. If you have enough people like Zegler making enough splashes and waves, because there's a fine art to it. Being a freaking victim and a tyrant at the same time. That's some sorcery. That's some magic that you have to balance in order to crush everybody around you. Does she have what it takes to do that?
Nope.
I don't know. We'll see.
Well, she's tried. She's trying to play the victim card. It was like this. There's a recent video that came up by the Quartering, where apparently Rachel Zegler is all sad now. It's like, well, no, Rachel, you did this to yourself, right?
Yeah.
It's like you did this to yourself, Rachel. Like, deal with it, right?
Exactly.
Anyway,
that's all I have on that. Go ahead.
Yeah, Rearson, it's your turn.
Snow tan and the 7 whatevers. Fuck. When I was a little girl, I was afraid of the movie.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, and she claimed that she was a big fan of the movie and whatever. She wanted to see somebody like her.
Yeah.
And she got caught in a picture of her in a Snow White costume, and then she claims that she never saw the movie. And it's like, so which one is it? Continue, Rearson. Sorry, you just reminded me of that.
Yeah, no, and thank you for bringing it up, because there was more to it. I just couldn't remember what it was. So we worked well in that regard. But this is a case of, bitch, shut the fuck up. And anytime she needs to be in front of a camera, she needs to be on the casting couch. Like, she just needs to have a dick in her fucking mouth just to fucking keep her quiet. I make no apologies, because, and we talked about this. Her career after this is done. She'll get small things, she'll get bits, she'll get a lot of little small parts in other movies, but she's not going to be, no one sensible will take her as a lead role anymore, at least not for a long time, if ever again. I don't know, and I really don't fucking care.
Well, she's not really super hot either. That's the thing, right?
No, and she's not and she has shown she's not the brightest light bulb on the Christmas tree.
She's about to say a 7 or an 8 on the thing. She's not super, you saw the photos that I posted up from the time before, Michaela Demacie and Veronica Zemanova, and how, she's not, in terms of looks, she's not in that class.
No, and when she hits the wall, she will be thoroughly and totally unremarkable. Oh, look, it's another fat Latina actress. It's going to be brutal. All she's doing right now, in my honest opinion, is that she's just accelerating her own demise, and she's doing a great job at it. And, as Napoleon has said, never interfere with your enemy when they're destroying themselves. And that's exactly what's going on.
Little fat Latina actress. Well, she's going to be cleaning someone's house pretty soon, right? She's going to be a maid. Pretty soon, the only thing she'll be famous for is having sex with Arnold Schwarzenegger.
I just. Oh my God!
Wow. Having another big-headed kid.
Here's the thing. Yesterday I went to see the Blue Beetle, and it had a bunch. The Blue Beetle was not Latino, and they race swapped. They race swapped the Blue Beetle out. But here's the thing with this most recent movie, the Blue Beetle. They actually made it work, right? They made the swap out believable, right? And
hey man, you want to go for some tacos? Some tacos?
Actually, there's a guy in the movie who is a big taco eater. That's the thing, right? They played it up, but they didn't overly play it, right?
No.
But I mean,
Okay.
with Rachel Zegler, they overly played it. But
Yeah.
continue, Rearson.
Well, I was going to say, I mean, no, there's no racism in Hollywood. It's anything but, except if it's white. Hey, man, you want to go for some tacos? Fuck. I heard it wasn't a bad movie. It's just that if it was, how did Nerdrotic put it? If the movie was released 3 or 4 years ago, it would have done fairly well.
Oh, that was the Critical Drinker who did that.
Oh, sorry. Okay, fair enough. Yeah, someone within that circle. But getting back to Zegler, oh fuck! I mean, young, dumb, and I sure as hell not could be pumping her full of cum. But that's really what the only acting that woman should be in is in porn. I mean, she's fucking stupid as all hell. Higher than a kite with her own ego, her own sense of self. I should get paid for every hour that I'm in this, for every hour that this thing is streaming, I should get paid for it. Okay, sure. I'll give you, I don't know, 1,000th of a cent. And she'll make some residual income, but I mean, it doesn't, they didn't specify as to how much. Yeah, I can give her a little bit, but not very much. This isn't 1937. I mean, shit. The son of the director for Snow White just thrashed the woman. So not only is she making, well, as the saying goes, in a sense, old age and treachery are no match for youth and exuberance, and that's exactly what this is. This youth, this is exuberance, this is someone who has not learned anything, has no real life experience except for maybe being on the casting couch or being perhaps more likely, probably passed around within the Hollywood circles to finally land the role. And yes, I realize what I've said, and no, I don't care. But she doesn't have two fucking. She really doesn't have. She has 1.5 cents to rub upstairs or between her, in her head, and that's about it.
Well, she's had people suck up to her her entire life, and so she hasn't had a guy that said no to her, right?
Yeah, and you know what? That's fine. Because what happens to her downfall, and however else this is going to go, for me, it's just like watching right now Disney fall apart. I'm still not sure about Ahsoka at this point, but I'll let my friend watch it first if he's going to do it, or our mutual friend, the one I'm in contact with again. I'll let him watch it, then I'll take his word for it and go from there. Probably won't give Disney any more of my money. Which is another fucking problem that studio can't afford now, is a loose cannon that's, even if they do put it on, well, if they put it on Disney Plus, they're writing it off because it's a write-off anyway. The preview, the people that did see it before, the sneak preview, the sneak views, or whatever the fuck it's called, the reaction of the people that watched it, it was terrible, or at least the little bit that's been made available so far. So it's tanking, and all she's doing is that this woman's on the Titanic, and she's managed to set enough charges to blow it up and sink it even faster, and make it that much more unrecoverable. So. As I said, Indy 5, the dial of Disney's demise. Oh, God. Snowtan, the 7 what the fucks. And, yeah, there's no amount of magic from Disney's going to be able to cover this big turd up. Ever. Talk about fucking tainted. Wow. I've never heard of a movie having this much problems ever. Not just for marketing, but for an actor self-destructing. So I don't know. Whatever. Disney is not going to survive all of this, at least not in its current form. What it's going to look like, don't know. I'm mildly interested, but at this point, I have other things that are a lot more important, and I don't need fucking distractions like this to take up any more of my valuable, precious time than it already has for tonight. So, and I will leave that to you, my friend. Let's move on.
All right. This next one. Well, actually, I'm pretty sure you want to get in on this next one here, Rierson.
Which one is it again?
Justin Trudeau.
Oh, fuck.
Okay, so I saw this on Redacted, and then it got also covered on True North, which, by the way, is rapidly becoming my my go-to for Canadian news, and undoubtedly one of the first although they're based in Calgary, and if I'm just gonna speculate on this right off the bat. If Trudeau tries throwing his weight around with the lockdowns and everything this time around, he's going to find that Alberta and Saskatchewan are going to be brutally uncooperative this time. So if he tries to use, I mean, and why did I just blank out about her name? The premier of Alberta, right?
Danielle Smith.
Danielle Smith. I kept thinking it was the other one. It's not Rachel Notley. Danielle Smith. Danielle Smith has been talking about bringing in a provincial force. So if Trudeau starts sending the RCMP over to go after, say, True North or the reporters that are based out of Calgary, for instance, and he tries to use the RCMP, that will be the impetus that Daniel Smith will need to bring in the provincial, basically, start up a provincial police force and then go to the RCMP and then go to Trudeau. Say, if I see you using the RCMP to harass reporters or critics of your regime, of your administration in Ottawa, the RCMP that go to investigate this person are going to have to answer to the Alberta Provincial Police. That's one of the reasons why she's bringing it up. But this is different, as we all know, and we remember the old. Hold on a second. Trudeau. As you're all aware, by the way, this is an offhand, the court is refusing to hear Jordan Peterson's appeal about his media training. I suspect there's probably going to be another legal move done in this regard, but that is probably for next week. What's going on in Calgary in particular, and the way that city council there has been running block for groomers. And it's obviously, they're trying to drag it out in court because it still hasn't had its court hearing. It is eventually going to have its court hearing. I'm pretty sure at this point that the folks that are going against it are going to make damn sure that there's a judge there that's not going to be one of the Trudeau appointees. So it's not this is not going to hold up to a legal challenge. What Trudeau did, and he did it on the sly, because he tried to bury it under some levels of bureaucracy. He basically set up about $1.5 million fund to promote LGBTQ. And what it does is that this fund protects groomers. And what it also does is apparently it gives the government and it gives legal apparatus to go after parents who are targeting groomers. So, as much as I would like to say that that triangle, that one-line triangle, and that Trudeau is protecting pedophiles. I mean, this cannot be seen as anything else but Trudeau protecting pedophiles. He's also trying. You're catching him doing this more frequently and more often because he damn well knows that. I mean, like the only thing that's keeping him as prime minister right now is the fact that the NDP hasn't gone and taken a run at Jagmeet Singh to get him out as head of the NDP, and he is going to Jagmeet even allowing for the fact that the NDP is a leftist party. If the NDP does not do something about Jagmeet Singh, because the NDP could have been, Jagmeet Singh could have been perfectly positioned to come in like the hero and dethrone Trudeau. And if he had done that, he could have, this is back, especially back during the trucker convoy. He could have come in like an avenging hero of the working class and sided with the conservatives on the by the way, that vote in the House, that was a non-confidence motion. He could have sided with the conservatives and ousted Trudeau on that, and he could have come in like an avenging hero, and he probably could have potentially maybe even established himself as prime minister. He didn't do that. He sided with the Liberals against the working class, which, by the way, the NDP is supposed to be a working class party, which is why up until a few elections ago, I generally supported them. Like, for instance, the year that Rachel Notley ran for premier, I voted for Rachel Notley. The year the NDP won the provincial election in Alberta. The situation is such that it's so delicate that Trudeau has to bury this. And this it's not a bill. It's a fund. It's designed specifically to target, and it's my understanding is designed to specifically to protect it's not listed as, well, we're going to protect groomers. It's got all the flowery political language on it, but basically there's two things. It protects groomers and it targets parents who are opposing groomers. Like we're talking lists, potential legal action, basically forming committees and so on and so forth. And yeah, he attempted to bury this under layers of bureaucracy, so it was more difficult to find. That they know that this is not a popular motion when he starts trying to do this. But here's the thing, and this is also something that's dawned on me with Trudeau, right? Like, if he actually spent an equal amount of time actually solving a problem as opposed to coming up with clandestine ways to fucking protect pedophiles and harass parents that are opposing pedophiles, he might actually have been a half decent prime minister. But he keeps pulling this sleazy, cowardly stuff, and the media, and he's done everything. Like, he's literally trying to put a cap on the alt media to protect himself. There was an incident that occurred. Oh, by the way, just going back, I just remembered this. And I actually asked a couple of porn stars about this on Instagram. When Axel Braun does the likely more accurate faithful reproduction of Snow White, maybe we should ask him when Snow White Prince comes. Back to the main story.
How often?
Or how often. Because we all know how that last scene would go in the Axel Braun reproduction of Snow White. Like, they're doing it, right? Anyway, but getting back to it, it's sort of like, he's got. Well, we could go off blackface, scandal after scandal after scandal after scandal after scandal, doing everything he can to shut down the alt media, doing everything he can to prevent external press from getting into Canada, like doing this and this, and they pulling all of this stuff in an attempt to try to control the narrative. And none of it is really, it's working, but it's not working. And now, he's been caught doing this, and of course we all know, right, that he is definitely going to try to start. He is going to be fully on board with all of this COVID stuff. He's going to try to push these restrictions again, and it's again, right, like Alberta and Saskatchewan are definitely not going to cooperate this time. And if he tries to get heavy-handed, and you damn well know he is going to try and do it, right? Because Alberta and Saskatchewan combined won't be enough to are gonna all literally all go conservative in the next election anyway, right? He's going to try and get heavy-handed, and it's going to backfire on him even more. And it's like, yet another thing that Trudeau has been caught doing. And I'm also going to get into recently one of the other smear attempts. They had a reporter in New Brunswick when Pierre Poilievre was granting an interview, and this reporter said, "Are you attempting to dog?" There's been experts that have been saying that you've been attempting to dog whistle to the far right. And Pierre Poilievre looked her square in the eye and went, "So who are these experts? Who are these people? Like, name them." "Oh, well, blah, blah, blah." Well, no, I asked you a question. Name them, right? And they literally pulled the same thing with Poilievre that they pulled with Rollo Tomasi a week or two ago, where they just posted this stuff up saying that Poilievre was dog whistling and he got into this reporter's face. And of course, they just assume that we're all stupid and that, like, this stuff doesn't, again, like, Twitter might allow this stuff to get posted up, but they don't allow in the feed, in the responses. They're not running block for them anymore. So there was one guy who pulled this up, and I actually asked him the question, and I asked him very bluntly, like, who are these experts that are saying that Poilievre is attempting to court to the far left? And the guy actually blocked me. It's getting to the point where the opposite side of the aisle is just saying stuff and then doing a press run and then hoping that nobody fact checks. And of course they end up losing on the far side, because the moment it comes out or if it enters social media, it gets destroyed, right? And again, this is the same sort of thing. You're not seeing any coverage of this in the mainstream media. This is all on the alt media. And even though Trudeau has done everything he can to prevent this from getting out, it's getting out anyway. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to V.
Well, first off, I swear to God, you're like DeRosa. Like, DeRosa cannot do a podcast without mentioning McDonald's. You cannot do a podcast without mentioning Rollo Tomasi.
Well, he's been in the news. He's been in the news lately. That's why he's been around a lot. And
I don't even know who it is. I've pieced together so much just from what you said about him. I still know who he is. Maybe you guys can put in the chat, like,
Rational Male on YouTube.
Well, spell out his name for me in the chat if you can. I only have to Google him, because if you're going to mention him so much, I need to become an expert on him too. Well, okay, so I'm in other room here because, yeah, today for some reason, it's I don't know. It's a lot of accidents or something. I don't know what's going on. A lot of ambulances, one right after the other. So I'm in my soundproofed room right now. But anyways, I want to take it from the other direction here. Play devil's advocate if you can. Imagine me doing that. Well, no, it's just you're too focused in. You got to pull back to see the bigger picture. Protecting pedophiles, making laws to protect pedophiles. That's an effect. It's not a cause of anything at this level. It's an effect. Now, when you know what I know, especially about government, psychological operations, political corruption, I mean, that's what I study. That's what I'm an expert in. And the way the government operates against the people. Now, you're focusing on the fact that your pedophiles that are being protected, and that's how these things perpetuate itself. It's in a fractal nature because there's a cut, then there's another cut, there's another split, there's another split. But when you zoom back out and you look at the bigger picture, this is government. This is government. Split between two parties, three parties, whatever. And then you go down another level. How many more splits do you see? You go down another level. How many more splits do you see? The more they can fracture off any kind of political ideal, the more control they will be able to impose. Okay, for example, hate crimes. You know, when you do a crime against a minority, oh, now it's a hate crime because we've outlawed this specifically. So now we can put you in jail and screw your white privilege. You're no longer protected. You're going to jail. So what that does effectively, it destroys factions. And ideas is put out there to the public, and it is split in two. When you split in two, you create factions that are behind those two ideas. The thing about factions is they have political force and political power, and if they don't have political force or political power, they have some physical force and physical power. So you have to make those ideas illegal. If you act against someone as a vigilante, let's say KKK, and you go lynch mob somebody, well, that is specifically hate crime. You cannot do that. And you're going to be hit with the heaviest extension of the law. It's not because it's the right thing to do or the moral thing to do, but no faction can have more control than the government. There isn't any faction out there that's supposed to feel as though it is autonomous and can act of its own accord. Okay? So you get a group of vigilantes that think they're going to go and kill a bunch of pedophiles because it's their prerogative and it's the right thing to do. Society will look at that favorably. No, it's not going to be looked at favorably in the eyes of the government because you acted above the law. No faction out there is supposed to look better than the government or supposed to be more effective than the government. So it doesn't matter. Pedophiles, minorities, I don't want to equate pedophiles to minorities, but it's just as things go on, society's ideal about what's morally right and morally wrong progressively changes, and it's going to keep changing. It's going to keep fracturing. It's going to fracture and fracture and fracture and fracture till that pile of sand is divided out to individual grains. That's how much control the government wants over the people. That's the bigger picture. Again, for the fact that this certain situations about pedophiles, it just happens to be about pedophiles because it's inevitable in the algorithm. So, I mean, that's the thing that people don't understand. They keep trying to make changes. And that's the only way people can feel any sense of power. They go after a group that's smaller and weaker than them. Instead of looking upwards at the powers that be and trying to make changes in that direction. It's a domino effect that goes down till it enslaves the individual person. We are at our weakest divided. And that is the name of the game. With that, I'll pass it on.
You know, I would actually love to not have to talk about this douchebag. And he's usually pretty good, but I just would love to never have to talk about him ever. Anywhere that I see now, I'm going to call it for what it is. The pedo flag. You know, Naroki, the one that we saw on some stores of Best Buy.
Yep.
I mean, that is now like garlic to a vampire to me at this point now. Or a cross that has genuine faith behind it to keep evil away. Or in this case, the inverted cross, just because. And again, on Telegram, there was an interesting short that is kind of circulating, and I should look for it and send it to you. But the gay community, and they started to, lesbian, gay, bisexual. That's as far as I go. That is as far as it goes for me. I've got no problem. Not that I'm going to personally partake. I mean, the spouse, when she was pregnant, she had can't call it a dream. Certainly wouldn't call it a nightmare. But I was sleeping quite peacefully, and out of nowhere, whack! What the hell was that for? She fucking backhand. Well, she hit me and woke me up. And what was that for? Oh, you know, when she went to sleep. And she's laughing at this because I'm going to recount it. But that's fine. Afterwards, she told me, I had a dream and you were gay. Or you came out as being gay. I went, well, I might look like Anderson Cooper at the time. I assure you. I'm just not interested in the boys like that. You know. I don't care. And V, you were here when I said this the first time, way back when. I don't care what you do in the bedroom. I really don't. As long as it's between consenting adults. Now, the problem with the...
Whoa. Hold on. Now you're making it sound like I'm doing something.
No, I'm... oh, wow, you're really taking this in the direction I do this. No.
Oh, he's opened himself
I'm not the one
up.
with the
Now we
gimp
can
suit, damn it.
speculate openly.
I'm not the one with the gimp suit, damn it.
Fuck you two. Fuck. Jesus Christ. All right. Now, ladies and gentlemen, there has been never at any point in the time that V and I and Roki have been on here that I have ever said that he did things that were non-consenting or with anything but adults. Never, ever, ever. We've actually agreed on this one. And we agree on most things anyway. But the only way that the Satanists, the androgynous, again, you have to look at Baphomet. as an entity. Goat head, goat's feet, wings on its back, and it's got the torso, I think, of a man, and it's got the tits of a woman. What is it? Not human. Not human at all. And they're really trying to bring out, excuse me, they're really trying to bring out their perversion of whatever God is to them. Well, no, not what God is to them. Evil cannot create, it can only pervert. And I'm really beginning to get that now. I really am. Now, again, can't exactly say that I think that Trudeau's in that crowd, but all things being equal, and he did pay quite a lot of hush money, again, to that girl in that private school in Vancouver, well over $2 million, to keep her and the mom quiet. I'm waiting for the dad to kind of go, well, I didn't sign this, so I can say I don't really care. Which probably means that the mother will get sued for giving to the husband, or well, I'm sure it'll go in that direction if he can do it. And again, the wraparound triangle on the Trudeau Foundation 2015-2016 prospectus, screaming of pedophilia, boy lovers. So this is no surprise. These are the things I would love to tell, and I'm going to say that to my father at some point. Oh yeah, Dad, by the way, you're going to vote for Trudeau? Damn right I am. Okay, you might want to actually take a look at this and then research what this symbol means. And he's got his name attached to the foundation and hasn't ever denounced it. I'm sorry, folks. You haven't denounced it, and you're part of it. Well, that's exactly it. You're part of it. Trudeau was the problem. And I suppose the only civil solution is to vote him out. I'd like to go with more other means. That's not believe that alone. Now, the thing is that, and there has been this progression, if you look back and think about it, there has been this progression of the gay community, and it began with that. And just like what happened with leading up to Nazi Germany and whatever else has happened in the past of, shall we say, regime changes, whether good to bad or bad to good, it takes time for a political movement to gain steam. Just like what's going on with MGTOW. It's taking a while, or the men's rights, or whatever it is now. The manosphere. There we go, the manosphere. That's what I want to say. It takes time. And it requires people to see it, to believe it, and to be part of the push, and however they're going to do it. So this really, I was surprised at it, but when I thought about it, it is no surprise. And again, talk about the groomers. Two people that Trudeau is associated with are in jail for being boy lovers. Dalgleish and I don't remember the other guy's name, but he was his roommate in university. So it takes a pedophile to know a pedophile. Of course, it wasn't true, but that's what the reality is. And given the running joke that Canada was surprised that Trudeau was married to a woman when he got divorced, he's not exactly what I would define as being a rather masculine man. No, I'm not saying that I am, but I am a lot more masculine than he ever is. You want to take a look at my socks? What do you think of my socks? You know, let's go out and dance and get drunk and make a complete ass of myself in India with my family. Indians don't really dress like that anymore. I'm sure they do in some parts of the world, some parts of their country, and maybe parts of the world. They don't do that. So, I mean,
At least he didn't dress like a leprechaun when he visited Ireland, or when he will eventually visit Ireland.
I would love for him to go to Scotland and wear a kilt
Oh
do
my
this-
God.
and do the same thing that Braveheart did with the British soldiers, or with the British cavalry. Hey boys, take a look at what's under the kilt. Well, I'm sure that he does want to
I
do
imagine
that.
there'd be nothing but a bunch of haggis underneath there.
By the way, I can't stand haggis, but good get into. Let's just get on with the show here.
Never tried it, never will. Anyway. So with him pulling this kind of shit, it's not surprising when you take a few steps back and just kind of go, So I'm hoping that this fucker's time is I'm hoping that his political clock is going to get punched, and the card's going to get thrown out. I would love to know. I would love to see a military tribunal with this guy front and center. And I hope it happens. I really do. They keep talking about Uranium One scandal, how he's connected to it with. Oh, it's just fucking complicated. It really is. I'm not going to go into it. But again, this is not surprising for me. I wish it was, but I know this. Naroki, you know this. You're in one form or another, you're well aware of it as well, too. It's the people like my father that have to wake up to what's really going on. And the only thing that makes sense is that things like this have to be pushed through to wake people up. It's going to require more time. It's going to require more patience on our part. But that, unfortunately, is the reality. So, surprised but not surprised. Shocked but not shocked. At all. And I'll leave it at that. Let's move on.
Okay, so that concludes this particular part of the show. I am going, because I played it at the very start of the show on two programs ago. That would be 25. But I'm going to play it again. And I've also downloaded the video, which I will put up at the end, because it kind of seems kind of redundant to play the audio on this and then put the video up so that it doubles. So I will put the video in at the very end of this so that you can watch the video term. But here you go. Alex Stein visiting the Plano City Council, which we also played at the start of 325.
Hello, Plano City Council. Remember me? My name is Alexander Stein, and I am an elementary school teacher. I want to apologize that I have to use artificial intelligence to communicate this evening, but my throat is very sore from some nasty gonorrhea in my throat that I got from a glory hole during my trip to El Paso to help all the sex traffickers at the border. Something you may not know about me is not only...
I'm just going to throw this in about this. While he's doing this, he has his hair dyed purple. He has a ball gag in his mouth. And he's also waving a Ukrainian flag the whole time. Let's continue.
I have one of the biggest packages in Dallas County, but I am also a teacher and I'm coming here today, not to speak about my anaconda, but to warn you guys about the upcoming school year. Ever since Elon Musk took over Twitter, he has amplified the voices of white supremacists like Tim Pool as well as other racist right-wingers. If you don't believe me, the only proof you need is the account. Lips of TikTok. which constantly tries to expose hard-working teachers that are just trying their hardest to teach their students about masturbation and sex at the elementary school level, and as a fellow teacher at an elementary school.
They just cut off the feed.
It's totally inappropriate.
What do you mean it's inappropriate? What do you mean it's inappropriate?
It's inappropriate. Thank you, Mr. Stein. It's inappropriate.
Anyway, we had a good laugh about that one on the previous episode. I got to point out that Plano, Texas is probably must be kind of like Austin, because he keeps having to go to this city council and embarrass the living crap out of them, and they just don't seem to be getting the message. You know, this is almost kind of like the same thing that happens here in Alberta. You have Edmonton, you have Calgary, which are, especially Edmonton, which is a really seriously blue. Well, I mean, it's different. Red is blue, blue is red. Edmonton would be, and by U.S. terms, it would be a blue city in a red state. But in Canada, it's a red city in a blue state, because they call the Conservatives up here the big blue machine. And I'm guessing Plano, Texas. And we do keep hearing about this stuff happening in Texas. The difference between, say, Texas and California is when they try to pull this stuff in Texas, it gets caught and called and reversed as soon as it's spotted. Although that may eventually change, because, I mean, there's like, people are starting to leave California. They've actually done immigration rules, like California's net, like, for the first time in probably 2 centuries, California is actually having more people leave than go into the state. And by the way, this is California. California was like the synonymous of the American dream, you know, which says something about California. Plano, I mean, there are cities, Austin, perhaps Plano, Texas, and a few others that just keep doing this stuff over and over and over and over again, and they keep getting caught. Now, maybe Alex Stein is based out of Plano, Texas as well. But, I mean, as you saw, I mean, and this is also something that I've seen. I've seen this twice in the last 10 days or so, where you will get people going to city council meetings with books gotten from the high school library, and they will read excerpts from the book that they got at the high school library in city council, and city council will boot this person out for inappropriate language. And it's just like, and they just like literally defeat themselves, because when they do that, it's sort of like, oh, well, it's inappropriate for city council, but somehow you think it's okay for teenagers to be reading this in the high school library. There's also, and you might, both of you guys might remember that 14-year-old that had that YouTube account with 1 million followers at one point, Soph Pearson. You remember her? Because we did it. We did, yeah. There was an example of, and I kid you not, a 14-year-old addressing the school council in her residential area. Look at that. Just as I'm doing, Snow White frantic reshoots are happening by Disney. Yeah, I'm going to have to take a look at that as soon as that literally came up on my feed as I was talking to you guys. But yeah, they literally tried to shut her up, and they couldn't do it because, I mean, this 14-year-old girl was versed on the rules of order, and she knew that she had time, and she wasn't saying anything that was anything remotely resembling what Alex Stein was doing. They tried to shut her up, and then when they couldn't shut her up, the entire school council, the entire school board literally walked out on her. A 14-year-old girl. Imagine a 14-year-old girl's words being so powerful that a group of adults don't want to listen to them. I'm going to go out on the record and saying school boards are going to become a vicious battleground for this stuff next year, in the next few months leading up into the election. Because they keep doing this over and over and over and over again, where they keep trying, and this is all being backed by ESG, and definitely being, because Soros has figured out a way to bring his brand. The globalists have figured out to bring their brand. They're going to have to actually get down to the municipal level to do it. And they just keep getting caught over and over and over and over again, trying to sneak this stuff in. And like we were just talking about on the previous topic, right? I mean, to the point where they're getting the federal, where Trudeau has to get the federal government involved in order to protect them, right? This is not going to end well. I'm going to go out on the record and say that somebody's going to end up getting severely injured or killed at some point in the next 12 months over this, because they just, and of course the mainstream media keeps portraying it as LGBTQ. They're trying to wipe LGBTQ. That's not the case. It's like, no, they're going after you because you're going after their kids, right? But somebody is going to end up dead or severely injured over this at some point, because the mainstream media is not being responsible and they're not reporting the truth. And again, right, there's an alt media that is, and I don't want to say the U.S. is headed for civil war, but I mean, like, this is potentially going to be one of those topics. And in a place like Plano, Texas, man, like, this school council is probably going to be completely changed over. I mean, I think the Edmonton school council, again, I don't have kids of my own, but the school board here has also tried to push has not tried to push LGBTQ like they have in Calgary, but they have been trying to push racial justice and social justice in the schools here in Edmonton. I mean, this whole thing it's going to get hotter and hotter and hotter as they get closer to the election. And Biden has already made his stance very public on this, and it's backfiring on them. And I mean, it's backfiring again. Like, Biden is not going to have to face any debates in the primaries, and probably the whole primary is stacked for Biden to win next year. But it's not look good. And I gotta point out, right, this is Texas, a place you wouldn't expect that to happen. But I gotta point out, because we were just discussing it earlier tonight, they're trying to pull the same sort of stuff here in Alberta, and Alberta is also would be considered by U.S. terms a red state. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to V.
Well, I was wondering when you're going to turn it over to the Texan. I think I might know something about this. Plano, Texas, which is surprising. Actually, Plano, Texas is full of rednecks, hicks, you good old boys. Okay? So, I think if there are quote unquote progressive agendas being put out by the school and protected by the school boards and things like that, it is to agitate the population on purpose. I don't think there's a part of Texas I haven't been to that I haven't even, I've lived in most of Texas and have at least visited the rest. Plano is, I believe, is right underneath Lubbock, where I was born. A lot of family there, a lot of family all over Texas. So I've been everywhere. I can tell you, West Texas, where Plano is, that's your redneck central. Okay, that's where the excuse my language, but the shit kickers are. That's what they call them. Cowboys. All right. Even though most of them have never actually been on a ranch, most of them have never actually ridden a horse, but it's not going to stop them from buying the biggest trucks possible. Wearing silly 10-gallon hats and the cowboy boots and the giant belt buckles, and want to call you boy. They see you. Okay. It's a lot of the culture. It's a lot of that redneck. I mean, it's not bad like Alabama, like so inbred, so illiterate that it's, you think these are like swamp mutants or anything, but they still have that old timey sentiment, you know. These are today, the adults they're kids. You've seen in the news. These are the kids. They're children taking whips and whipping black kids. Still to this day, think it's okay just to go and a white kid go and punch a black girl in the face, call her a bitch. That's going on a lot in the news, and that's from places like Plano. Okay, so I think it's just one of those system shocks. Again, what I said about the previous topic. It's these people have to be opposed in the way that they think, and unfortunately, you have to oppose them with an even greater evil. Because there's no winners in the history books. You're not going to show that there's any winners except for the government. They brought control and equality. Okay? Because the government's going to be writing history books. So what comes out of it is what comes out of it. I particularly don't have any dog in that fight. I know I'm going to be homeschooling my children. Anybody who actually cares about their family, their next generation, and their values will also take their kids out of public school and raise and school them at home themselves. You have to sacrifice your entire life. Yeah, you have to go to work, come home, and do your second job, which is schooling your children. That's how it used to be back in the day anyways, before there were schoolhouses. We'd go back to it. Okay? I mean, the Pilgrims, the Amish, Quakers, the old Mennonites. I wouldn't say they have such a great education routine, but no, they learn multiple languages. They learn math. Okay, there's some literature. They're literate. So be in the world, not of the world. And everybody has a choice. You got a choice. Fighting against the government and these town halls and school board meetings, being called a terrorist. Again, you're going into the trap. You're a lobster. The other lobsters, I don't care if they're red or blue, you're going in the same trap to be processed by the system. So people need to wise up and come up with a game plan. All right, that's it for me.
Grierson.
Well, the school board or city council, whatever the case may be, it reminds me of the female that put me through my red pill rage. No accountability. It's perfectly fine for it to be in the schools, but don't want to say this in front of the parents because this being recorded, because get enough parents to see that, there'll be fucking hell to pay. Now, I don't know if there has been hell to pay over this. I hope there has. But it's honestly, it's long overdue is what it is. And Rook, as you said, just go back to what I had said about Trudeau and the circle that he's in, the people that he is associated with, people he wants to protect, because he is in lockstep, in my honest opinion. He is right in there with them because, my opinion, to protect a pedophile, you need to be a pedophile. So that logic could also be very easily applied to the people that shut him up. Now, if I was on there, yeah, I could pretty much answer. It's like, no, actually, I want to hear what else he has to say. You are trying to protect the children, right? You don't want to molest them, right? Again, let kids be kids. And keep the politics out of it and keep the politics away from them. They don't need it. They don't deserve it. And again, as it was said in The Poltergeist, with that short little old fat medium, the only thing that our children are born with basically is innocence. And they have no problem squashing or extinguishing that innocence, which I have a problem with, as every normal parent should. So, now this happened, what, about 2 weeks ago, a week and a half ago? 2 weeks ago. Okay.
Sorry, my mic wouldn't unmute. Yeah, no, it happened last week. Otherwise it would have been on the show last week. Yeah. I'm finding there's hypocrisy going on. While you were chatting, I was looking up the school board of the town, the town that I grew up in Prince George, BC. And if you want to start talking about hypocrisy, there was this one girl, and she was, I think you could arguably say she was the she was the school hottie, right? And she's currently a school teacher in Prince George. Not the one, she was the best friend of the one that I probably would have gone with had I been a little bit more functional as a kid. She was the best friend of this woman. But she was also this is what I'm talking about when I talk about hypocrisy from people. She was also a smoker, and I actually saw an op-ed done by her in the local newspaper where she's calling out people for smoking cigarettes. Okay, yeah, and maybe she was talking about it in terms of people tossing their still lit butts out the window as they were driving. But I mean, I saw this same woman, but I mean, she was a girl when I was in high school with her. I saw this same girl routinely and frequently take shortcuts that nobody fucking called her out on because she was the quote unquote hot blonde in my class, in my year in my class at the high school I went to in Prince George, right? You know, people again, while what V was saying about Plano, Texas being redneck central, yeah, I mean, when I was working in Oyen, right? Like there was this one woke idiot, and everybody knew who this woke idiot was in town, and they even told me who she was, and I may have had the misfortune of encountering her once, and it was sort of like it was a complete contrast to all the other people that I had met in that town, right? So yeah, even in small towns, you're still going to run into woke idiots. But so yeah, is Plano Township School Board town council populated with people like that? Well, it depends on what the population of Plano is, but yeah, it's possible. But continue, Rearson.
Well, did Stein not already? You know, he already raised hell before. I can't remember what his stunt was.
Twice before. He's done it twice.
So the council knows they have a firebrand on their hands, and they can't really do very much except just let him talk until. Well, was he the one? Was he the one that had given the names of 3 illegal immigrants and was asking town council to please take them because, you know, since you're so happy to bring them in, you are going to take them in your home, right? Right?
Oh, I think that was Plano. He also did one where he came in wearing a mask and a bathing suit. There's also another one where he took a knee for Joe Biden and the war in the Ukraine. Yeah, he's done I suspect that he may originally be from Plano because he keeps saying Plano seems to be a special target for him, which kind of makes me. I'm going to have to do a background search and find out maybe if he was from Plano or not. But continue.
Yeah. Anyway, no, like I said, typical of politicians, they're quite in one form or another. They're really happy to be pushing the shit on everybody. And like Trudeau, when they get pushed back, all of a sudden, well, it's not my fault. I mean, fuck. He was campaigning on more housing in 2015. He was campaigning on housing in 2019. And then with the last one, it's not the federal government's job to make housing affordable. So, I mean, yeah. I cannot wait until that dam down there breaks. My opinion is that the federal government isn't going to really do very much because it's a local matter. The state won't do anything unless they absolutely have to. And because that's the local posse keeping their wagons circled to keep themselves protected, it's going to take a stampede of enough angry parents that'll be pushing, that will push them out to where they should be, which is not anywhere near any children, much less be in public. I can't think of anything more appropriate than to have the people that supported this, that pushed this, to be thrown in prison with the hardened criminals in the general population. It's like, okay, see ya. Good luck. If you're lucky, you should have your own cell for the rest of your life behind bars. But to save the taxpayers, we'll let criminal justice within the prison system itself work its way through. See ya. Goodbye. Good luck. And that's what I think would be the best. That would be the best option. But again, the locals have to stand up. Now, this will sound a little bit hypocritical, I would love to get my son out of the public school system here, teach him at home, but I already know what I'm going to hear. And he won't want to because he wants to be around his friends. So maybe if I'm lucky, we'll see 1984 Part 2 comes back. Maybe. No, it'd be easier for me to leave. I don't know. Anyway, don't have much more to say on this one except I can't wait for shit to fully hit the fan with these people. And Rocky?
The next speaker
Back
is
to you.
Alexander Stein.
Hello, Plano City Council. Remember me? My name is Alexander Stein, and I am an elementary school teacher. I want to apologize that I have to use artificial intelligence to communicate this evening, but my throat is very sore from some nasty gonorrhea in my throat that I got from a glory hole during my trip to El Paso to help all the sex traffickers at the border. Something you may not know about me is not only do I have one of the biggest packages in Dallas County, but I am also a teacher, and I'm coming here today, not to speak about my anaconda, but to warn you guys about the upcoming school year. Ever since Elon Musk took over Twitter, he has amplified the voices of white supremacists like Tim Pool as well as other racist right-wingers. If you don't believe me, the only proof you need is the account, Libs of TikTok, which constantly tries to expose hard-working teachers that are just trying their hardest to teach their students about masturbation and sex at the elementary school level. And as a fellow teacher at an elementary school,
It's totally inappropriate. It's inappropriate. Thank you, Mr. Stein. It's inappropriate.
Where's the city attorney? Oh, I can't come up here, but you're going to let teachers indoctrinate kids with pride flags. You're going to let them teach their sexual ideology to young children there.
Thank you.
But you're going to try to shove me down. Well, I got this thing. I don't even need your camera angle. I'm just saying you're an idiot. You're limiting free speech because I'm out here actually trying to do something. I'm trying to expose all the pedophilic teachers that are grooming our kids, that are giving kids mastectomies at 14 years old. What about all the gender reassignment surgery? You don't care about that because you like when kids get their penis cut off there. Yeah, you do. Well, then why are you limiting my free speech? I'm not just saying, this is going to go to court. I'm going to sue you. You're limiting my free speech. I'm allowed to speak here, and you're limiting my free speech by turning it off. You know what you're doing. Where's the city attorney? Where's the city attorney? Is the city attorney here? Are you going to have me removed from the building?
Your time is
up.
up.
I'm just saying, are you having me physically removed?
No,
because when I filed my lawsuit, Mayor, I want to know, am I being physically removed from this building by this cop? Am I being physically removed? Am I being physically removed?
Yes.
I'm being physically removed. Okay, so you agree. I just want this, because I'm going to sue everybody here. You better not touch me, officer. I'm just telling you. And you better not touch me. You're trying to intimidate me in this room. You're limiting my free speech. You got a lot of balls, Mayor Munn. But unlike these teachers that want to cut off kids' balls, I want to keep mine, and I want kids to keep theirs. So listen, I can make a scene. I got this on camera. This is better content, Mayor. No, this is better. No, because I didn't get my time. You turned off the camera. You turned off the camera. Dude, what? Get off me. You turned off the camera when I'm trying to speak. Why are you guys touching me? Get off me. Get off me. Don't touch me again. I'm not here. You just want to gender reassign all these children. You're a coward, Mayor, and you're a loser. You're afraid of free speech. You're a little baby back biatch. You know it. We got it on camera, officer. Are you guys removing me? So what am I being removed for? Yeah, okay, I don't want to leave. I don't want to leave this meeting.
If you're going to be loud like that, then you're disrupting a meeting or procession.
Listen, I'm trying to speak, and then they turn off the camera.
I understand that, sir.
So how is that legal? If I'm here to do my public duty and speak, why are they allowed to turn off the camera?
We have to proceed the meeting, so...
Yeah, but I didn't get to speak. I signed up to speak. Why did they turn off my microphone and camera?
You still spoke. It's time to
No, I didn't get my 3 minutes. You don't understand how First Amendment... No, I didn't get my 3 minutes. They cut off my thing. You know it, and I know it.
Well, let's go.
No, listen. You guys, this is a bunch of bull crap.
All right, so let's get into the next topic here. Yeah, Alex Stein just keeps coming up with the hits on that one. So yeah, the next one, and this is the corporate, not the corporate caskets by Illuminati. By the way, I will admit, I mean, I did like when it came to MLM stuff, Illuminati did do a really good job. I liked her corporate casket stuff. Yeah, vain, narcissistic.
I
has
used to be subscribed to her.
Oh, I was subscribed to her too on my old channel. She did the corporate casket stuff really well, right? Like, and her expose on Nexium, for instance, was brilliant. But I mean, again, right? How much of that was actually her, and how much of that was the support team behind her? That's the thing that crosses my mind with her. And of course, right? You know, she was putting them out at such a clip. It was obvious that she wasn't doing it all herself, and she wasn't. And again, that's okay because Jeremy Hembling puts up 4 or 5 a day, and he has a support team as well. The difference is that Jeremy Hembling frequently and routinely acknowledges the work that his support team does for him, so he is able to just go and do his content and focus on that and not have to worry like what I have to do about compiling the video and compiling photos and blah, 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 posting all this stuff up. And if it's like, if I end up getting sick, or I end up facing employee difficulties, or I end up facing a bumpy period, which I have been for like the last 6 months, you know, the channel starts to suffer, right? You know, it would be nice to be at that point where I could hire somebody to do all that stuff for me, right? But I'm not at that point, and I might not be at that. Well, I am going to eventually get to that point, but I'm not at that point right now. But getting back to the actual topic, yes, the word, although it hasn't officially come out yet, the official word is that Project Veritas has laid off, quote unquote, fired most of its staff. Apparently, they still have cash coming in, but they don't have enough. Well, they have no big surprise because everybody stopped donating to Project Veritas and started going to OMG Media. And of course, James O'Keefe has set up O'Keefe Media so that they're not going to be able to like stack the board against him. And of course, all of the stuff on the board. I mean, it turns out that this is part, maybe James O'Keefe maybe being a little bit naive on this, but he hired a guy who was supposedly a former intelligence officer to do some hiring for the board for him, and he didn't screen the people that this guy was hiring. So yeah, James O'Keefe was partially responsible for what happened at Project Veritas. That being said, after he left, and the way he left, and of course the harassment lawsuit, which was also probably one of the reasons why they had to pretty much close up shop, is, I mean, you know, they have to get different prosecutorial, a different lawyer to prosecute James O'Keefe, because James O'Keefe was the legal counsel that they had at Project Veritas worked in extreme concert, because James O'Keefe was continuously bringing up lawsuits and so on and so forth. So, I mean, they had to get different legal counsel to go after James O'Keefe because they couldn't use the one that they currently had. They probably found that at the hard way, but bottom line is that they had an accountant look. I think this is what's been floating around. I can't say for sure this is the case, but apparently they took a look at the money coming in versus the money going out, and they realized that they no longer can run the place like they were running it before. So they're in the process of winding it down. And it happened a whole lot sooner than people were expecting. Not a big surprise. Again, James O'Keefe was Project Veritas. People over at Project Veritas can say that he wasn't until their jaw drops off and they're blue in the face. It doesn't make it true. You know, and again, like we're seeing this over and over and over again. They will just say it and hope you don't fact check. So apparently, and this is not confirmed, that Project Veritas is in the process of shutting down, and they're going to redisperse all their money, and they're not going to be able, and Pfizer is not going to be able to pull the same end run on O'Keefe Media that they did with Project Veritas the next time around. The other part on this, and this is another victory, and again, this is what they mean. You won't hear about this stuff on the mainstream media. Target was not hit as hard as, say, Budweiser was. And by the way, Budweiser just finally threw, and Budweiser apparently has also thrown in the towel on this as well. But Target did get hit, just like how Best Buy is currently feeling the wrath of the masses now with what they're doing. Target finally decided that they were going to pull all of its LGBTQ merchandise off the shelves this week. Again, not a big surprise. Again, also, by the way, this, and I'm going to have to bring this up, you know, by some, and this is, it can be dismissed as coincidence, but I'm really still, now that I think about it, I'm thinking that it's not. BlackRock, Vanguard, and Fleet Street are in the process of withdrawing money out of the U.S. market, as is Bill Gates, as are most of the richest 1%. Yeah, they're all starting to pull money. They're either putting it in liquid in banks, or they're investing it in stuff not in the United States, which is to suggest that they damn well know that there's a recession coming, and they need to protect their assets. This also means that they have less influence over organizations like Budweiser, over institutions like Target, over other various institutions like Disney, for instance. Like Disney is also, although apparently they still haven't learned their lesson over at Disney yet. But I mean, like, you're seeing them withdraw from a lot of their stock interests in the United States. A lot. Which means that they have less influence, which means that companies like, say, Target are now kind of more free to do stuff that they probably should have done, and Budweiser, for instance, are free to do stuff that they probably should have done months earlier, which is, in the case of Target, pull their LGBTQ merchandise, and with Budweiser, actually start to apologize. I'm going to throw this in before I turn this over to V, though. Don't get fooled by this. This could also be a tactic to lull people to sleep, and then they come back even stronger. In particular, if they try to ramp up the shutdowns the way they were 4 years ago. You know, back when COVID came around the first time, and how COVID is now supposedly coming back again just in time for election season. But we're not going to talk about that this week, because I'm sure it's all just a coincidence that COVID just emerges every 4 years right around election time, and that the fact that BlackRock is pulling financial interests out of North America is also causing companies to maybe be a little bit more free to act and actually do the smart thing, like what Target just did and pull their LGBTQ merchandise off of their shelves inside their stores. Wait and see, is all I'm going to say about that. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to V.
Yeah, well, I don't know. It's kind of, that explains a lot. I had sent some emails over to the Veritas people. I didn't get anything back. So that explains a lot. I had no idea this was going down with Veritas. So now I'm not butthurt anymore. At least there's a reason. I mean, I'm not like, you know, superstar guy where people just, want to work with me. And people, it doesn't matter who it is. I usually get a response back from anybody I reach out to. It's, the question of whether or not they want to continue that response once they figure out who I am. So, it makes a lot of sense. But anyways, I don't know. That situation is that situation. I don't have any comments on it really. But Target removing its LGBTQ whatever plus content. Well, I have one question. So, Pearson, where are you going to be getting your gimp suits from now on? Then,
Would you like to know that, boy? Don't know.
Well,
don't. And even if I do more gimp suits, I sure as fuck can tell you right now, I'm gonna find out.
Well, I think you hit the hardest by this one. I don't know, but with that said, you know what? I don't have anything else to put to this one. But whatever you want to tell us.
No gimp suits, I assure you. I hope there's no gimp suits at Target. Who knows? Well, maybe there will.
Take us out there, Rierson.
Yep. Alrighty. Project Veritas. This was we called it. Anybody that had half a brain would have already known this was going to happen to them. That they would fold. I mean, you were saying Project Veritas. Project what? Project Veritas. Project what? Project Veritas. Yeah, I know. What? Who are you talking about? I mean, it was a case of, well, it's really no different than Rachel Zegler. I mean, the girl went out, got herself the proverbial shotgun, put it at her foot, pulled the trigger, screamed in pain, but can't do things half-assed. So I'm gonna blow the other one off. Boom. And that's when she got hauled in to, the powers that be, and it got rigged over the coals. So, I mean, that honestly, it was only a matter of time. You could not separate. I don't remember really anybody else on Project Veritas that was in front of the camera. That was, Keith's right-hand man or woman or whatever the case may be. I don't remember anybody else from PV. He was Project Veritas. Project Veritas was him. So somebody thought it was a great fucking idea to get rid of him. And look at them now. So, and again, O'Keefe came out more than the winner. He destroyed them because he wasn't with them anymore. So good on him. Target. Oh, fuck. I'm sorry, but Target has really made some. Again, when Target bought Zellers up here in Canada, they started everybody all over again. You could have been working there like Mike Meyer's brother was working for Sears in Toronto. You could have worked there for 10, 15, 20, 30 years. The new owner and your seniority gets wiped out. There was supply chain problems. There was marketing problems. Like the whole fucking bit. Like it was one of the worst. It was one of the worst business mergers or acquisitions in Canadian business, and I think it'll stay that way for a long time. So the guy that whoever decided this was a bonehead. Every time I hear the word Target, it goes back in the back of my fucking brain. Oh yeah, Zellers. Fine, whatever. The now their presence up here in Canada is non-existent. They may own something indirectly, but as far as I know, nothing that I buy is going to go and support them. And for the people that have access to a Target, I would recommend, if you can, go elsewhere. Do I think Walmart's any better? No, they're just a lot more subtle and a lot more sneaky about it. And that pretty much goes for almost any other, excuse me, that goes for any big box retailer that's trading on the stock market and has State Street, Vanguard, or BlackRock, or all of them as their shareholders and with their reps on the board of directors. This is likely to be just a stalling tactic. Would be surprised if that's all it was. So, and Rookie, I have to agree with you on this one. People are going to have to be vigilant. Again, just like what happened with Alex Stein. But we don't want to talk about the perversion of kids because we just want to keep that in the school. So, don't hold us accountable to it. So, I think it's best to think of it, to look at it, and to treat it as Target's just taking a retreat. They're backing off the field, off the battlefield, but they got their spies. They've got their informants. They've got their espionage team, shall we say, strategically speaking, ready to do this again when it's more convenient. And I'm sure the board strategy is probably something along the lines of, well, public's just not ready for this, so we're gonna have to play nice. At least put up the front of playing nice. And that's all that I expect that this is. So again, it's all up to the consumer. Individually, you may not be very much, but enough people that aren't very much adds up. And just like Disney, they hit that critical point and they have to scramble to fix things that they should have just left alone in the first place. So, Norky, get yourself unmuted. I got nothing more to say on these last two topics.
Well, that's it for tonight, folks. Lining up to be a very interesting show for next week. Gonna get the recon footage edited and posted up some point this week, as well as 325 3, because I don't want to get so far behind like I did the last time here. Everything up to 325 is up everywhere, including YouTube. I haven't made it unlisted. What I have been doing is I haven't been putting the tags in, which apparently seems to be the thing that's getting their attention over at YouTube. But again, right, I'm not looking to solicit any followers on YouTube. But those of you who are here tonight, I want to thank V and Rierson for once again participating in what I'm hoping you found a rather interesting show tonight. We will see you next week. I am getting very, very hungry, so I'm going to log off here, and